What does that say? Can't even see it. Why is it so small? Some of your admins may have errors. Why would they? Oh, well. What's up, y'all? We are live. Give me a quick second to get this out. Let me see here. Comments show up in the StreamYard. All right, Putin100. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Ashley, what's happening? Thanks for joining in. Let's see here. Ashley said, if I purchase a pup that is dual registered UKC as American Pit Bull Terrier and ABKC as American Bully, which one would you consider it? It would be considered more than likely a American Bully. Very few people are going to have a pit bull and registered as a bully. So more than likely it is a bully. Now, some of you guys, okay, it looks like some of the Facebook comments are showing up. I'm going to try to stick with the comments that show up on StreamYard. So I'll repeat it throughout the live. If you want to guarantee I see your comments, best thing you can do is go to Facebook so that I can see your comments. And let me share this out so that I can go ahead and let people know off the bat. Give me just a second. But yeah, Ashley, it is more than likely a American Bully, and that is what it would be. That is what it would be considered. Why is my live not showing up on Facebook? There we go. Okay, so yeah, so more than likely it would be a American Bully. Again, to guarantee that I see your comments, go to YouTube, and that way I'm guaranteed to see your comments. There is a StreamYard button or link you guys can hit, and that, I guess, helps the Facebook comments show up, plus let me know who you are. That is also another avenue. But again, I don't want to miss anybody, so to guarantee I see your comments, definitely go to YouTube, and that way you can comment from there. Let's see here, because the Facebook, it just starts messing up after a while. But let me see. This is Facebook in the group. Now let me see Facebook on the page. Give me just a second, y'all, to get this out. And hold on just a second. There we go, slowing down again on Facebook. And we will go ahead and get started in just a second. See, this thing just slows down the whole system. Hold on, give me just a second. Let me see if there's a way around it. You know what? You can click on there and that should show it right off the bat, right? It's just slow. Okay, I see Facebook is a little behind. We are live. Go to YouTube so I can see your comments. All right, but it does look like it is showing the comments for now, at least. But let's go ahead and get it started. Thank y'all for joining in. Let me see, where are we? Bam. Don Sequenza, thanks for joining in. Betsy, Spirit Rider, thanks for joining in. Let's see. James Galloway said, I'm here. What's up? What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Somebody from YouTube said, or from Facebook said, hey, man, what's up? Let me see if I can see that comment. And I don't. See, I miss them. That's what I hate about this, because I don't see the comment. So, yeah, definitely, you guys, join in on. The best thing to do is to go to YouTube, and that way it guarantees I can see your comment. If you're just watching, then that's cool. From Facebook, let's see here. So somebody said, hey, man, Dr. Dion Peebles, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Let's see. Dom Seguenza said, welcome back. Yeah, it's been gone for what? I think 2 weeks. Man, the fight. My son lost in the decision. Basically, like he's about to take a couple days off. Like I told him, we just got to get more into the fundamentals of the wrestling. He's got to get more focused on that. I'm more of a striker, and that's same with him. But I never had to deal with referees and things like that and MMA. So he's definitely got to get focused. And the other thing is, you could tell they watched videos of him. You know what I mean? And it's hard to remove videos from the internet. Though we saw videos of actually, you know what? This guy, we weren't able to find videos of him. So I don't know if with Fight Camo, if he was able to have him removed. We got to really look into that because he has videos out there. And I think that you could tell they really studied his videos, really worked on the takedowns. He did good. Even when he got taken down, he was still able to deliver a lot of damage. But you figure at amateurs, they're fighting 2-minute rounds. Now because he's had his third fight, now his rounds will go up to 3 minutes. But yeah, I can't even argue with the decision. Definitely, I can't do that. We just got to work. Another thing is taking fights on short notice. Now he knows that's a no from now on. But we're gonna have to definitely work on the wrestling game. Luckily, he trains with Henderson, so he has the opportunity to do that. He's also going to be training with I'm forgetting their name, AJ Anthony Johnson with Team Body Shop. So he's going to be working with them a lot more. Kimbo Slice's son is there. Anthony Johnson is their, what is he? He's Bellator lightweight champion, and his dad runs the shop. So AJ Jr. But so he's going to be training with them. But yeah, we did lose in the decision. He is officially 2-1 as a amateur. But it was a good fight, and you know it is what it is. We just got to go harder. You know he'll be straight. He dealt with it well. Let's see. Somebody say, "Yo, what's going on, family? What's up, man? I don't know who that is. It's not showing me. See if I can go over to Facebook, and it's not. I don't see which one is showing it. But yeah, if you guys can, to guarantee I see your comments. Best thing to do is go to YouTube, and in that way I can guarantee see your comments and see what it is you're saying. Bully Bread Kennels, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Casper, thanks for joining in. So yeah, it's been 2 weeks. Let's see. Dion said I'll leave and go to FB. But yeah, I think it's been 2 weeks since we've been on, so we shouldn't have any more interruptions. I don't think his next fight is until January or February will be his next fight. So we got time. But thank y'all for joining in. I see some other people coming in. Let's see who we got here. Rhodes, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Are you letting people join the live tonight? Yes. Once we get through the topics, I will post the link for people to join in. I keep getting an error message for some reason. But let's go ahead and we will get it started. He said, I got a classic farm female I can show. Okay, cool. And let's see. James Galloway said, Calculated Bullies in here. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Shout out to Calculated Bullies. Let's see. Dion said Elsa is dual registered as a bully and a pit. You know what, though? It's a lot of people that do that. They leave it with pit, with UKC. Let's see. Heads up. Facebook requires you to go live. I am live. Why are you saying that? Let's see. Yeah, I am live. So something's going on weird with Facebook. But yeah, some people we crossed. I just look at leaving them registered with UKC as pit bulls when we know they're not pit bulls. It's just another form of paper hanging. So we have all of our dogs are UKC pit bullies, ABKC bullies. When we first got Lady Justice, she was registered UKC pit bull, and we went ahead and had her crossed over to bully with UKC. But at the same time, you also got to think about it because there are so many bully breeders that do have their dogs crossed as pit that they may not breed to you because, or do have their dogs registered as a pit bull with UKC. They may say, you know, they're not going to be able to breed to you because you have yours registered as a bully with UKC. So we went ahead and just took that gamble and ran with it because we weren't too concerned with other breeders. But if that's something you're thinking about with studs and things like that, then you definitely have to kind of see in your surroundings, the people you talk to, when it comes to the UKC, are the majority of them registered as pit or are they registered as bully, and then kind of make your decision from there. Let's see. Long live Kyron. What are the price for XLs? Ours go for $3 until we get into the next phase, but right now ours go for $3. I think I'm seeing 4, 5, all the way up to 10, 15. So it just depends. But ours go for $3 until we get in. We don't base off of clientele and everything. We base off of what stage we're at in our breeding. So right now our pups go for $3. Some people base it off of the hype in their peds and things like that. I don't get too much caught into that because I think a lot of that stuff is overrated, especially in this breed. Ace Nino said, what up, man? Thanks for joining in. Somebody said, how's it going? Yeah, so if you guys can, definitely cross over to YouTube and subscribe. That way I can see your comments. Who else is in here? AB South Bully said, what up, Thrower? What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Let's see. Dion said, my Wi-Fi sucks. Southern Tennessee. I'll catch the replay. Okay, cool. Make sure to recheck it out. Repo Diamond said, okay, that's what's up. Mark McKenna, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Finally caught alive. For sure. Laying in the hospital, man. Well wishes to you, man. Hopefully you're doing okay. Let's see. Repo Diamond Kennel said, new subscriber. Let's get it for sure. Let's see. GCBK is in the house. Who else we got in here? Somebody from Facebook. So it said, great topic. So we're going to go ahead and get into the topic. Depends. We don't base the price off of breeding rights. So if you're not getting papers from us, then yeah, it is going to typically be lower. But breeding rights is pretty much around 3. We look at an average of 3. This is how we kind of do it. We look at an average of 3. If there's not going to be breeding rights with a pup, and we're holding the papers on it, then that pup's going to be significantly less. The majority of our pups, though, should be breedable. So that's why you are going to have, most times you're going to have breeding rights. Our thing is the temperament of the pups. We want it to fit what we want to come from our program. You know, the size and all that stuff, the structure, that should already be there. But the temperament, that's what kind of makes us decide. Now, if we do see something like high rears, things like that, then of course we're not going to make that pup breedable. And if you want it, then of course it's going to be you won't get papers, and it'll be a lower price. But the average pup that we have is going to be 3 because it is breedable. We just want to make sure that any temperament that we have going out on breedable dogs matches what we've got, what we're doing. So far, we haven't gotten it wrong when it comes to temperament. So they're pretty much going to be 3 until we get to that next phase of temperament, and then locking it in, then it will go up a little bit. Welcome back. Let's dive into the topics. Exactly. So let's see. What were the topics? So first topic came from Papa Joe, the difference between bloodlines, a single dog or a kennel name, and how kennel name or a single dog can become a bloodline. So we're going to discuss bloodlines. Second topic is secondary sex characteristics. Is being a she-male a good thing? We're going to get into that. Antoine Rivera threw up a topic. Is it an uneven playing field in the show ring for XLs? Flaw for flaw, do XLs get discriminated against in the show ring? So we're going to get into that. Next topic was running to the vet versus running to Facebook. Then Kobe Koba says C-sections versus natural, so we're going to discuss that. Tony Moss said, if you don't have show quality or working bulls, why don't I see a lot of pet home pups? We're going to get into that. He said the money is destroying the breed. So, yes, we will get into that. Travis Franklin threw up the last topic, which was green fluid around the eyes, what to do about it. And we will get into that. So let's start off with the first topic. Papa Joe said the difference between bloodline, single dog, or a kennel name and how a kennel name or a dog becomes a bloodline. Basically, it's hype. That's how we got all of this stuff being merged together and looking the same. A bloodline. What is a bloodline? A bloodline is created in the same manner that you create a breed. To create a breed, you take at least 2 different breeds, and then you start breeding them together, line breeding and inbreeding and of course you're going to need, so let's say you want to cross German Shepherds and Greyhounds. Then you're going to need several German Shepherds, several Greyhounds. You breed them together, and then you start line breeding and you start breeding the F1s off of those and doing your line breeding, your inbreeding, and that's how you create a breed. Takes the average person 7 to 10 generations for it to be a breed. What is a breed? A breed is when the dog has its own temperament traits and its own look aside from the dogs that are used. So it takes to have that, to get it and then lock that in so that it's officially a breed, takes the average person 7 to 10 generations. Your best of breeders will take about a minimal of 5 generations to get that done. But because it's going to take about 5 generations of line breeding and inbreeding to lock in those traits so that you can breed that breed to another breed and still have those traits pushed through. So it's the same thing with a bloodline. Bloodline, to create, you got to take at least 2 different bloodlines, or you have to have a bloodline plus scatterbred dogs, or you just have to have scatterbred dogs. But once you get all those dogs into your breeding so that you now have a litter that somehow is related to all those dogs that you purchased to create this bloodline, it is now from that point going to take you approximately 5 generations. The average, well, the best of the best will do it in 5 generations. And then the average person takes 7 to 10 generations. What makes a bloodline within a breed? And that's the main thing, is a bloodline is within a breed. A bloodline is a line of dogs that has been line bred and inbred to the point where they have their own recognizable look and their own recognizable temperament. It has to be both. Just having the look does not make it a bloodline. Just having the temperament does not make it a bloodline. It has to have its own recognizable look and temperament within its breed to be considered a bloodline. What ended up happening with the bully game is, and this actually started with pit bulls, and was people were getting out of the game thing, the game dogs, but still claiming to have game dogs and using popular name kennels and calling it a bloodline. You'll see a lot of people in the bully game, they talk about Bossy line. I don't know that Bossy actually has her own bloodline, but people love taking Bossy dogs and breeding them to Bossy dogs that Cat, the owner of Bossy, would have never done, and saying, oh, it's a Bossy dog or it's a Bossy line. Well, that's not a line. The purpose in a bloodline is so that it can influence the breed when bred to other dogs outside of that bloodline. That's the whole purpose in having a bloodline. It assists in taking the breed further, concentrating the gene pool you have in your yard, and then putting that gene pool out there into the breed, whatever that breed may be. Now, we know in the bully game, you had a lot of dogs named after, a lot of lines named after popular dogs, Gotti line, Remy line, and the list goes on. So the question is, are those really bloodlines? Chances are they're not. I don't know how Remy was bred, but a lot of times what it is people getting that dog, breeding it to their dog, and then they call it Remy line. Well, that's not Remy line. That's just a dog that was bred to Remy. But the bully game passes it off because line is a better marketing tool. And then you also have kennels who call their dogs that come out of their kennel a line, but yet they've done nothing to concentrate that blood. So when you say how does a kennel name or dog become a bloodline? It doesn't become a bloodline. It is just marketing. That's all it is. If you do have your own kennel and you want to create your bloodline, then it goes back to what I was saying earlier with how to create a bloodline. You get the blood that you think needs to be used to get you where you want to get in that bloodline, approximately 5 generations down the line. You get those dogs together. Once you've got that litter that is now related to each of those dogs that you have, you start breeding that litter back to those dogs to concentrate or get the things that you need to get. And then that's how you create a bloodline. Again, it's going to take you the best of the best, do it in 5, takes the average person 7 to 10 generations. And when you have your own look within the breed and your own temperament within the breed, you have to have both look and temperament. When you have both of those things, that is when you become a bloodline. And then whether you name it after your main dog or you name it after your kennel or the street you live on, that's all up to you from there. So let's see, before we get into the next topic, if anybody had any questions on that. Why am I getting all these error messages? Let's see. Somebody said, what to do with accidental breeding of a young female. There are 2 things. Somebody hit me about that earlier today, so that's funny. But this dog, actually a stray dog, got into their yard and bred to their female. One thing you can do is, if you catch it in time, which is really quick, is get yourself a turkey baster, grease it up with some Vaseline or the other lubricants that we get as humans. And you want to take 1/4 vinegar and 3/4 water, and then squirt that in. You just want to flush her about 3 times. Usually that will prevent the pregnancy. Now, aside from that, you have your vet, and then you also have medications. I'm not going to go into them, that you can get online for it. I would advise not doing those because you can damage your female. So I would say you have 3 options. If you catch it, you can flush her, just like I said, 1/4, and you can use KY jelly, whatever you feel. But 1/4 vinegar, 3/4 water, flush her, give her about 3 good flushes, and you should be good. You'll see it come out of her, and she'll start peeing and all that stuff. So you'll see it come out of her. That should be good. Your other option is your vet. Your third option that I'm advising, so your 3 options that I'm advising, that one, which is old school. The second one is your vet. And then the third option is let her carry through the pregnancy. Now, if she's a young female, you want to make sure her food intake and her diet is on point so that those pups aren't sucking up the nutrients that she needs for her own development. And then once she delivers the pups, you want to continue that diet for probably about 2 months. And then you want to take the pups off of her. Don't let them nurse from her or anything like that. Start nursing those pups yourself, whelping those pups yourself. Every 2 hours, you're going to have to be up till they're stable, and then go from there. But you want to end the pregnancy as fast as possible once she delivers them. And what I mean by that is taking the pups from her, and then you handle the pups from there. Don't let the pups nurse on her because you want her to get back into her development. Let's see. Jason Singleton said, quality. Ace Nino said, how do I go about dual register my pups? Mom is UKC American Bully, and dad is ABKC American Bully. What I would do is hit the registries up and let them know. Give them a call. Quicker way might be, because it is hard to get them on the phone, is go ahead, send your dad's paperwork in from ABKC to UKC as American Bully. They will probably accept it due to the fact, I want to say, the stub books are open and single registering. But so definitely send the dad's paperwork in. Just register them with UKC, register the mom with ABKC, see how it goes from there. In the meantime, I would say first give them a call. Try to call them, let them know the situation. Make sure that whatever bully you have registered with UKC is okay to be registered with ABKC and vice versa. Let's see, and then that way you get both of them on the same page. Somebody said, hi, what's up? Let's see. Someone else said, Daryl, is probably my reception or internet. Your live is breaking up, getting off FB, going to YouTube. I keep getting error messages. If I'm breaking up, you guys let me know. I'm not too sure what more I can do about it, but it looks fine on my end. Although it does look like the Facebook is freezing up for some reason. It's actually a little behind, I could tell. So I'm not sure what that's about. I'm gonna have to get my Wi-Fi boosted or something. Let's see. Major League Canine said, glad to catch a live. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. I'm glad you did catch it. AB Bully said, here for a reason, not a season. There you go. Let's see. Rosha style. Am I pronouncing that right? So I just want to say Daryl is the best. I don't have one of his pups, but he worked with me on my American Bully Ghost through a mutual breeder. Thank you. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. I know you are. Thanks for joining in, dude. From Jordan, friend of Luna's. Yes. And from what I understand, everything's going good. You know, like I said, like I told you before, if you have any other questions, feel free to hit me up. Luna's a super cool person, so I definitely don't have any, problems working with anybody, especially if little questions and things you have regarding the pups and their temperament. But hit me up anytime. I saw a picture of Ghost. She sent me actually a few days ago, and he looks good, real good. He's a good looking dog. But thanks for joining in, man. James Galloway said, thanks for picking my topic first. I've been trying to explain this to people, but I guess I'm not clear enough. So no problem. But some people don't want it explained, and that's kind of the problem with the bully community. If somebody tells them this is your bloodline that you've gotten off of me, and they're running around telling everybody this, and then all of a sudden they get to somebody that knows better, they don't want to hear better, and that's an unfortunate situation with the internet world and also the bully world. We are very programmed into only wanting to hear what we want to hear. Let's see. Rose said Remy was a razor's edge dog. Yes. Let's see how he was off Blue and Sage. Yes, but I don't know exactly how Blue and Sage were bred, so that's why when they say Remy line, I don't really believe it was an actual bloodline. I think Remy was just a dog that was, might have had some line breeding, possibly some inbreeding, and was able to throw his traits on a lot of dogs. The problem that you have with that is I can line breed and inbreed to create this one pup or this one litter. And then all of a sudden I breed that litter to scatterbred dogs and they throw their look and we call it a line. But if I breed him to an actual bloodline, what you're going to find out is those traits don't end up showing up because that's the purpose of a bloodline. Mark McKenna said, what about check drops my Bolero? I'm not sure what that is. I think I know what you're saying, but I'm not sure what that is. Okay, somebody said we're good on Facebook. Yeah, Mark, expand on that so I know what you're talking about. Somebody said, does having great pedigrees on both sides count when breeding? Yes, as long as the traits that make that pedigree great are passing into the dog and the litter that you're getting. You really want it to be in the litter. Let's say you just get it into your one dog. That doesn't mean your dog's going to pass those traits. If you get it in those traits that are great in that pedigree into your litter, then chances are the dogs you get from that litter that resemble those traits will also pass that on. Now, of course, like we've discussed before, your males have a greater chance of passing on to females, a lesser chance of passing on to males, and your females have an equal chance of passing on to females and a greater chance of passing on to males, as we discussed, due to how the X and Y chromosome work. But don't think it's a great pedigree because of popular names. That's the mistake that is often made in the bully world. Think it's a great pedigree due to the traits that are in that pedigree and are passing through the pedigree for at least 3 generations, You want to aim for 4 to 5 though. Okay, so everybody's saying the connection is good on YouTube. Let's see. Bandyline Kennels, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Eric said most people don't have the patience or self-discipline to start their own lines. This is very true. But and the reason why I don't get that is, to me, that should be every breeder's goal. And as you're creating your bloodline, you're not keeping all the pups. So as long as you're putting together good dogs, the pups that you sell off should still be good dogs. But for whatever reasons, people will just scatterbreed to the next height, scatterbreed to the next height dog, and never get an actual line together. When sometimes you've been dealing with terrible dogs, but sometimes you've been dealing with hype names that might be good dogs, and you're just getting them further and further from your blood. Let's see. Casper said, do you have a routine when delivering puppies? Do I have a routine? As many as I've delivered, I don't know that. I just get my dental floss ready, my scissors, and, all, the things I need to clean and keep things clean. I don't know that I have an actual I don't know. I don't think I have an actual routine. I'm sure if I put more thought into it, it is a routine that I'm just not thinking of because I'm on live. But I don't think I have an actual routine. The last two litters we did were C-sections. So there was really no, routine needed in that. And I think with the bullies, because I don't trust how the dogs were bred, we'll probably stick to C-sections until we get further into our bloodline and there's more consistency structurally or physically with the dogs. And then we will probably put some money aside ready for the emergency C-section, but try to go ahead and have a actual natural birth. You have to remember with these dogs, because of the way they're bred, we're putting big dogs on short limbs, and we're not taking count of what's taking place inside the body. So you can have this huge female, but her tract and everything for reproduction is extremely small due to the dogs, the bulldogs and things that were used. So that is one of my fears with bullies and having the C-section is you can have a small reproductive tract, but at the same time, you got these big shoulders and big heads on pups, which is usually the problem in deliveries. So right now we're sticking with C-sections until we get everything more consistent and the size between our males and our females, because you got to remember King was a huge dog. Mr. J, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Mark McKinnon said to terminate. Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about. What I've heard with that is that sometimes the medications used to terminate pregnancies can affect the female in future pregnancies. Now, I don't know that to be fact, but it's why I have always advised people to stray away from the medications. I kind of stick, if I were to have that experience, if I catch it, I'm going to use a flush. If I don't catch it and I suspect it, which means now you're like 30 to 40 days deep into the pregnancy, I think going to your vet. Now, from what I understand, what the guy told me today is the vets refused to terminate the pregnancy unless they were going to spay it, because of course, spaying the female automatically terminates the pregnancy. So that's something that if you do go to a vet, you need to make sure you let them know, I do not want her spayed. I just want the pups terminated. The other avenue is just putting your breedings on hold and going ahead and letting her naturally have birth with them and taking the pups right away and nursing them yourself so that she can start recuperating if it's a situation like we talked about earlier where she's young. Let's see. AB South Bully said, how long you been in the game, Thor? Bullies? Shit. Oops, I'm not supposed to cuss on YouTube. With bullies, I would say about 5 years. We spent 1 year. Well, my first bully was actually a razor's edge female. I used her for catch work with my boy Floyd and actually bred them for catch dogs and protection. They worked great. Floyd is 1/4 old family, or Floyd is 3/4 old family red nose, Norrod line, and 1/4 boxer. And then she was a Razor's Edge female, my female Sasha, and she was great catch dog. She was great dog, and even though she was Razor's Edge, I know that might sound funny, but she was a great dog, and they produced great pups. She was probably one of the best mothers that I've had when it came to pups. I mean, I was hands off. She handled everything. Um, so I had my experience with that. My cousin, which is my kennel partner, Aaron A-Side Thrower, shout out to him. He actually had a XL that he never got around to breeding, named Bolo. That was a beautiful dog, which is what threw me off when we decided to breed Bullies about 5 years ago. And we just started watching the community. We logged on to Facebook when we realized Facebook was such a heavy influence with the bully game. We logged on to Facebook and we sat for probably about a year, only contacting breeders and talking to breeders, but never exchanging posts, comments, because I actually hadn't been on Facebook for about 5 years. And then till we got into Bullies, and then I logged in, saw the drama, logged out, started another page, which is the page you guys see now, and started, actually getting in the bully game. But we sat and watched the game for about 5 years. For about a year, I became against doing Bullies again due to the fact I started seeing all the flaws. And my female from Razor's Edge female didn't have all the flaws that you see in the game right now. My cousin's XL Bolo, he didn't have all the flaws that you see in the game right now. And they're almost unavoidable unless you're going to somebody that you know. But you figure even our champions are our grand champions, especially in the XL game, they're cowhawk. Like even when I go back to Bolo, I know he didn't have a high rear. I know he didn't have weak pasterns, and he was a huge muscled up dog. He was probably about 22, 23 inches, extremely driven. We keep trying to remember if he was cowhawk, but we can't find pictures of it. But we know he had decent angulation, decent rear. But for some reason, in that period, and Bolo was probably about 7 to 10 years ago. For whatever reasons in that period, that 7 to 10 year period from him having Bolo and me having Sasha, there's just a lot of flaws in the bully game. But as far as actually purchasing dogs and starting, we've been involved for about 4 years, and we've had 2 litters so far. We've been very slow about breeding. Next year, now that we know we got what we want, we'll be adding a new piece to the puzzle due to a breeding that is taking place next year that I'm crossing my fingers on that one. Next year's when we'll be going harder in the bully game, doing more breedings. Now that we've seen what we've got from the breedings, we'll be doing some repeat breedings, and we'll be going a lot harder with promotions and things like that. That's just not something we're used to. But we just have, I don't think my cousin has either. I don't think either one of us have ever sold an actual dog like online or to, through any type of media outlets. What is your description of a good temperament? Depends on what breed. If we're talking about bullies, I know a lot of the bully community is not going to agree with what I'm going to say, but to me, a good temperament is a dog that is protective of his home, his family, a dog that is still able to go out, socialize with other dogs, not necessarily a dog park environment, but able to go to the vet. I'm not a big person into my dog meeting new dogs. I'm not even big into meeting new people. So I'm not big into my dog meeting new dogs. So as long as my dog can go to PetSmart, Tractor Supply, to the vet without acting a fool, to me, that's cool. The showring without acting up. To me, that's all I care about. But to me, that's a good tip. I like a dog to be very purpose driven. I want them to have a high purpose drive. Prey drive when it comes to the bully, I would say medium to medium, anywhere from medium to high, not necessarily high. Unless you plan on doing work that involves, hunting or things like that. What else would be a good temperament to me? Definitely, I want it to have a protective drive. I want there to be a slight civil drive there. Civil drive meaning that the dog doesn't have to be agitated to protect, to initiate a bite. I want a dog that if it sees something that ain't right and you approach me in a manner, I keep my dogs on leash all the time anyway, that dog knows until I tell him it's cool. Like, okay, this is the homie. He's just drunk right now and acting funny. But if I don't know you and you approach me, I want a dog that's willing to bite you without me having to tell it. That's what civil drive is. So I want there to be a slight civil drive. I want there to be a medium to high protective drive. I want there to be um, a high purpose drive, meaning that whatever it knows I'm into, it wants to do it. It wants to learn it. I want my rank and dominant drive to be low. I don't want a dog that's dominant. I don't want a dog that's rank driven. But I've kind of gone into that before. But I think if you create those balances, you get what the XL world or the bully world asks for when it comes to temperament. What do they say? Exuberant willingness to please. There's your purpose drive, and a zest for life. So you want that the purpose drive, the play drive. That's another thing with bullies is I want a high play drive. If it means they're a little goofy and getting into stuff and knocking stuff off the table, I'm cool with that. You just, as you get a pup from us, don't sit your beer on the table where the dog tail can hit it. But I want to play drive because a lot of that stuff involves intelligence. That's another thing is I want a high inquisitive drive. So we breed for pups that when I make a sound that they don't see, I don't just want pups that turn their head. I definitely don't want pups that don't acknowledge it, but I want them to turn their head and look, and I want them to go ahead and make their way that direction to see what it is. A lot of times inquisitive drive is, and now, for those who are going to go and Google inquisitive drive, it's not on Google. It's not in books. It's something that I've noticed over time and breeding dogs. And the person that asked me how long I've been in the game, as far as the bully game, 5 years. As far as dogs, probably 20, 25 years of breeding and training and conditioning. I've been doing this. So actually, I'm saying 20, 25 years. I'm getting old. So it's actually been over 30 years now that I think about it, because I started when I was around, I would say I got serious when I was around 16, 17. So it's been over 30 years of me, just dealing with dogs, breeding, training, conditioning, things like that. But back to the inquisitive drive. Inquisitive drive is something I've noticed in pups from about 4 weeks, let's say 6 weeks, all the way to about 6 months. When they hit 6 months, their inquisitive drive tends to turn to alertness and awareness, intelligence. But you'll notice pups that are between 6 weeks and 6 months that have a low inquisitive drive, after 6 months, tend to be less trainable, less intelligent. So it was something that I've always come up with, and that's my own term. I'll admit it, you won't find it anywhere else, but I call it an inquisitive drive that is present in pups, and it's basically their cognition, their cognitive ability in pups that evolves into their intelligence and cognitive ability as adults. Let's see here. So Mark McKenna said it's a concentrated dose of testosterone, also stops bitch from coming into heat. But see, now, do you know if that's why I just don't like supplements and medications and things like that. But does that, you're giving her this medication, because I know also some people will use steroids to end the pregnancy, which I'm assuming has the same effect as the testosterone. But are there any negative effects to the female afterwards when it comes to reproduction? I've never looked into it, so I don't know. I just always kind of stay away from that stuff. Let's see. Rose said Juan Gotti was a very popular dog also. Yes, Juan Gotti. Shout out to Gary Moore. Rest in peace, Tony Moore, and the whole Gray Line family. Juan Gotti was he's probably the most popular dog in this breed and just a legend. I remember before Bullies, Gray Line, first I was heavy into the pit bulls and, young, running the streets. And so the blue pit was like, you don't do that. And it was Gray Line dogs. A couple of buddies of mine got Gray Line dogs that they were using to breed to band dogs. And first thing I was thinking is, why are you doing that? But then I got to know their dogs, and the gray line dogs were extremely driven, well bred, put together dogs. And then that's when I finally started getting into gray line. I still never got a blue dog or a gray line dog, but I actually, that was something that I gave a gray line was something I gave a lot of respect when I took the time to learn and watch how those dogs perform. I actually did some security. I've trained a few of them. I've also done security work and protection work with a few gray line dogs, and I have never been what should I say disappointed in what I've seen from them until you got Gotti and then the Gotti line dogs, and then that just became a whole nother thing bred for looks and size. What's up? Not sure who's saying that. Once again, if you're on Facebook, I can't. Some of your comments are showing up, but it's not showing who you are. Go to YouTube and subscribe on YouTube, and in that way, I can guarantee see your comments. It is doing a little better though today, so I don't know if they did some updates, but I am seeing a little bit of it today. But I still can't see the comment. I mean, who's saying the comment? Mark said, not sure. It's a great approach for health of a bitch. Exactly. Funny word bitch. Now Facebook has been getting on our group about the word bitch, and I actually had to defend a couple people to Facebook and let them know, like, yo, this is a dog term. So they're just cracking down on everything. Mr. J said, I wish I had the space. I'd be in there like swimwear. Exactly. Let's see. Somebody said, any supplements you give to newborn pups? No, like I was just saying, I'm not into supplements. I do have the formula that I make for newborn pups. A lot of them are good that you can get, that you can buy. The only thing I would say that I would possibly add to them, make sure you read up on them first, and hit me up if you do have more questions. Hit me up on Messenger. But I do add Cairo syrup to my formula to give them that a little bit of that sugar boost and that energy. What else? Do I add anything else to basic formulas? I don't think I do. I know I use egg. I use raw egg, egg white. I don't think there's much else I add that is unknown, but I do add Cairo syrup, and I also add. Okay, I take that back. I do use colostrum. I will add colostrum to the pup formula. Colostrum is when the female, for the first 12 to 24 hours, she doesn't actually produce milk. She produces colostrum. Colostrum is what boosts the immune system of the pups. You can buy colostrum in powder or liquid form. I will add that to their formula. So colostrum and Cairo syrup, the clear syrup, I do add that to their formula. And the syrup is basically so that they get that sugar for that added energy. And I forget what happens if their blood sugar goes low. But I add those two things to it. I'm trying to ramble my mind to think of I've been doing it for so long that pups come, I just go into mode. I never really thought about like writing things down, and I probably should start doing that so that I can give you guys more answers, or give you guys the right answer and know that I gave you everything. But I think that's pretty much the only thing I add to the formulas that I do that is different than most people. Let's see here. AB South Bullies said, is it possible to only do natural ties instead of AI and surgery? Meaning, is it still worth only doing natural? Natural tie to me is the best. One of the topics of tonight is even natural versus C-section. Anything natural is always going to be the best. The further you go from natural and nature, the more you start introducing things that can lead to cancers and other issues. Also, the more you start having dogs that shouldn't have been bred. So, like, for instance, I've had females, not in bullies, but in other breeds, that didn't find out till later that their moms had issues with giving birth, and all of a sudden they're having issues with giving birth. It's the same thing with breeding. A natural tie is always going to be your best. I've never had 3 dogs mate naturally and the female didn't turn up pregnant. I have done 3 AIs and the female didn't turn up pregnant. I've done surgicals and the female didn't turn up pregnant. So natural is always going to be your best. And when I say I've never had natural ties, I've never had dogs tie 3 times and the female doesn't end up pregnant. I know I've never had dogs tied twice and the female didn't end up pregnant. And I'm trying to think, I don't think I've ever done just like a 1 tie type thing. But yeah, anything that is natural is always going to be the best. The other thing is natural tie means the 2 dogs are built structurally and able to breed naturally. So if they're able to tie naturally, and chances are there's other things that they're able to do naturally, so natural, anything that's natural is always the best. Someone says C-section for XL bullies as well. Yes. Now, if you have a large litter, so let's say you've got 10 pups, chances are you can go ahead and do a natural breeding. Again, the key word is chances. We still have a birth canal that may not be the size of the dog or of dogs that size because we've used so many breeds in this. You still may be having large head dogs, large shoulder dogs that can be issues. The way I look at it with the American Bully is if you can do natural birth, great. Continue it, breed for it so that you can continue it. If you can't or you haven't tried and you want to try, look at the dogs. Did the female's mom have a natural birth? Was she born from a natural birth? The male, was he born from a natural birth? Are their sizes comparable? Is it a large litter? If it's a small litter, then you know you're dealing with big head dogs, big shoulders, and there's going to be a chance that the pups are big. If it's a large litter, they're going to tend to be smaller as pups, and then they grow into their natural size once they come out. So I would say with American Bullies, I would treat them the same way I would treat English Bulldogs. I know a lady that breeds English Bulldogs. She's had 2 natural births by accident that went perfectly fine, no issue. But that's not what she aims for. I would say until you know that things are consistent between the breeding pair, as far as size and the fact that they've been bred from natural births, I would say stick with the C-section just for safety, or know your vet, have the money ready to do an emergency C-section, which is what we plan on doing. Eventually, at some point, we're going to take the gamble, go for the natural delivery, and just be ready for the C-section if need be, emergency C-section. So I would say just be ready for it. But if you're not sure, then just run with the C-section and be safe. Let's see. Rose said, my females do natural and I just get them comfortable before the birth. So I stay prepared. When she does drop, I help them whole time and watch her with the pup. Same here. I'm right there with her, sleeping with her for every single pup. I'm making sure they all come out, and, helping her pull them out. I want her to push a little bit, but once she gets to pushing and it's coming out, then I go ahead and help her. Another reason you guys want to make sure you help them is because you don't want them losing too much energy and then all of a sudden they're tired and not pushing pups out. So I want them to push, but then at the same time, once they get the pup coming out, then I'll reach and I'll go ahead and help them pull out. And this is why your dogs need to be in shape. Now, don't go conditioning your pregnant female, but this is why your dogs need to be in shape, because when they do become pregnant and okay, in about 45 days, I should be having pups, then that's when you go ahead, you relax. But that 45 days, she's still going to be in shape. Even though you're feeding her more, she's gaining weight, she's still going to be in shape. She's still going to have the energy, the drive it takes to push them out. Sometimes, especially when you're dealing with low-driven dogs that aren't in shape, they lose the desire to push those pups out, and that's when you run into trouble. But Rose, yes, I'm 100% correct in that. Why did it jump up like that? Where'd it go? Let's see. Again, I'll repeat, if you are on Facebook, to guarantee that I see your comments, jump to YouTube, subscribe, and then that way I can see your comments. But it does look like the Facebook comments are popping up. They're just not, it's just not saying who they are. My bad. Let's see. Cody said, peace, Daryl. My human sent you a message on Instagram. Check me out. I will definitely check you out, Cody. What's up? And I'm getting better with Messenger, so I'm gonna take that back. With Facebook Messenger, I'm getting better. Matter of fact, that's somebody I got to hit up. I'm glad I said that. When it comes to Instagram, I got to get better at that, making sure that I check it. We don't do a lot of Instagram activity. When we do, it's in spurts. But I will be, I'm going to check for that because I need to check Instagram anyway. Let's see. Bandyline Kendall said, do you consider Merle scatterbred? We have a Merle female off Woodland. I think what the bully community has to admit is that there are no Merles in the bully community that came from Merle bullies. At some point, a Catahoula, more than likely a Catahoula or a Alapaha was bred in, paper hung on, and then all of a sudden you got your Merles. So do I consider it scatterbred? I would say if that Merle, Catahoula, or Alapaha was in the last 4 or 5 generations, then yeah. Once you get beyond 5 generations, now you're back into the breed, which is the same thing the Cane Corsos did when they introduced the Boxer, and other breeds have done to get healthier specimens. So in the beginning, yeah, the problem is where did the Merle come from? And that's what you need to look in your pedigree to see. And if you see that, you might be able to look at the offspring and tell what was used. But Merle dogs are definitely due in the bully community, are definitely due to breeding to non-American bully dogs. So is that scatter breeding? Yeah. But it's it's crossbreeding really, because you're using a whole separate breed to get it. Once you start breeding it back into your bully lines, then now you're back to having an American bully, which is what the Merle community is trying to do now. Major League Canine said, I need a slap mill, any reputable places to get one. You know what? I haven't dealt with treadmills, slap mill, or treadmill or slap mill since probably the late 90s, because it was illegal in California. Now, what I just learned is that it wasn't illegal unless you had already been proven to be dogfighting. So, so I don't really know of any. I've seen some dope ones online. I'm sure they're probably overpriced. If you go into some of the pit bull communities, you will see on Facebook, you will see a lot of people promoting different treadmills and everything. So I would say definitely go in there and check them out. And you'll probably come across some that are decently priced, some that are used. Matter of fact, I want to say, is it Jay Rivera? Somebody just hit me up about a treadmill. That's funny you mentioned that. Hit me up in Messenger, Major League, on Facebook, and I'll try to find who that was. There is somebody that I'm cool with that's selling. It's either, I want to say it's Jay Rivera. Hit me up, though, because there is somebody that's selling one. Kings of Bully Excellence said, peace and blessings. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Rose said 27 of us here. Hit the like button. Yes, definitely hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. I always forget to say that. Thanks, Rose. Cody said, peace, Daryl. My human sent you I think I read that already. Are you sending multiple comments, Cody? Or are you trying to spam my YouTube? But I'm gonna check you out, Cody. I promise. Let's see. Somebody said correct. Somebody said well said, agreed. Somebody said you have pics of your work. Pics of my work as far as offspring in the bully game, or pics of my work as far as other breeds. But we have both. So let me know what it is you're looking for. But if you want pics of our bully productions, I can definitely get those to you. Hit me up on Messenger, or if you scroll through my page, or you go to our Instagram, or you go to Thrower Bullies page on Facebook, Thrower Bullies Instagram, you can see pics of pups and stuff on there. Or if you go to my Daryl Thrower page, you can scroll on there, but you can definitely find them. Is Liger a legend? That's funny you asked that question. I just had a conversation with Andre Smith BGK, we were on the phone for about an hour talking about legends and honorable mentions, things like that. I would say Liger is a legend. Now, what I've heard is he didn't necessarily throw his traits. But as far as the bully game and people saying I'm 10 times Liger, I would say Liger is definitely a legend. That's funny you bring that up because we were just talking about legends. I don't even know how we got on the topic, but we were talking about legends in the bully game. Let's see. Late tap in from Washington. What's up? What is this? Cushaholic 509. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Somebody from Facebook said, I respect your knowledge. Great background. Thank you very much. I appreciate you for joining in. Rose said, was your people doing that with the gray line dogs back in 2010 around the era? The people I knew that had gray line dogs were either breeding protection dogs at the time. Well, let me take that back. I knew people that got gray line dogs and were just using them for great home dogs that also turned out to be good home protectors. I also knew people that were breeding gray line dogs. Now, the people that I knew that were breeding gray line blood were taking them to other breeds and creating their own line of band dogs. But let me see. Was your people doing that? If you're talking about the treadmill, everybody I knew back then was using the treadmill. We was all using it. Let's see. John Gotti was the truth. Yes, he was. John Gotti was a dope dog. And slightly part of the look that we kind of want in the dogs that we're doing. We want bigger John Gottis. You know what I'm saying? But we like the drive that he had. Peace, brother. Is King Liger a legend in the bully world? I would say yes. Daniel Nunez, what's up? See, now Daniel's name is showing up and his comment is showing up and he's on Facebook. When a natural tie doesn't take, how do you know if the problem is with the bitch or stud's semen count? Before bullies, we didn't worry about semen counts. We didn't have dogs that had issues with semen counts and natural ties. How would I know? I wouldn't know. I would have probably just bred them again. And then typically before bullies, we always blame the female if the breeding didn't take. Now, getting into bullies, things are more complicated with progesterone tests and C-sections and surgicals and AIs and semen counts and all that other stuff. I'm just getting into that. So but we habitually, through our own ignorance, blame the female every time. But it wasn't so much ignorance because 9 times out of 10, that was the issue. When you start getting into these dogs with bulldog traits, you start bringing in issues that I never had to deal with until getting into bullies. So that would be my answer to that question. And what's up, Daniel? Thanks for joining in, brother. James said, nowadays they don't even give the bitches a chance to even have natural because they buy from a bitch that did or need a C-section. Exactly. It's a fear. It's a fear. I'm going to say it with Cardi Bull, Kinsey, Justice. It's going to be a C-section. We're not going to take the chance due to the way these dogs are bred. We're not going to take a chance on C-sections. Now, like I said, once we get probably 2 to 3 generations into creating our bloodline, that's when we will take a gamble on the C-section. I mean, on the natural birth. But other than that, for right now, I'm not going to take a chance because of the way you look at Cardi Bull, King, big heads, big shoulders. All these bullies, it's shoulder, it's head, it's big hips. You know what I mean? So me personally, I'm just not going to take a chance on it with our females until there's consistency in the litters with the males and females that we have, and we're line breeding and inbreeding those dogs. As far as bringing an outside dog, that's actually a good question. If let's say we have our bloodline and our bloodline is capable of giving natural birth, and then all of a sudden somebody wants to breed, or I want somebody stud to bring we've done an inbreeding, so now I want to outcross, and I do bring somebody stud in to do that. I would probably, one, need to know that that stud is similar in structure to the rest of my males of the bloodline, similar in size. I would also probably want to know, did his mom give natural birth? And then from there, I would probably take the chance on doing the natural birth. But again, because he's outside of my blood, I would be prepared for that emergency C-section. Let's see here. So iButone 100 said, when can you stop giving puppies goat's milk? I stop right about 4 weeks, and then I start switching them over to mush. Some people go to 5 weeks, but I stop right around 4 weeks. I'm just a stickler for getting my female back out there, so I tend to stop right around 4 weeks. Let's see. KJ said, how's that boy Aziz coming? He's nice. He's right at, I want to say he's 137, 140 pounds. He really looks like his mama. He's not as near as tall as King, and I don't think he's gonna be as tall as King, but he's still got that height. He's probably, let's see, Cardi's right around 20, 21 inches. So King is 26, 27 inches. So Aziz is probably right about 24, right around 23, 24 inches. I think he's going to max out about 24, 25 inches. And this is just me giving estimates. I haven't seen him in about 2 weeks. No, actually, shit, because of the fight. Actually, I think I've been so focused. It's actually probably been about 3 weeks to a month that I've seen him, but he's coming along real nice. There's some things that I'm like, okay. Now, the dude that has Aziz, which is a close friend of mine, he spoils him. So he's probably about I'd say about 5 to 10 pounds heavier than what I would have him at. But he's still got energy. I love his personality. I love his temperament. He's still protective. When I go 2, 3 weeks without seeing him and I walk up and he's looking at me, he's like, let me know, don't approach till I figure you out. Then once he figures me out, he's like, oh, it's that dude. You know what I'm saying? So, but he's coming along real nice. His brother, Onyx, who was the run of the litter, has actually really developed nice. He's smaller, but his structure came out real well, and he's got his daddy's big head. His head, even though he's smaller than Aziz, is about the size of Aziz, possibly larger. But so those are the two that we decided we are definitely keeping within the fold and will be using for breeding. Onyx, I would say, is a little more prey driven than Aziz is. Aziz goes everywhere, gets along with everybody, every dog, but you still have to, you don't like, like when I took him to Cinco de Mayo show this past May for the, what is that, USBR show. And that was when I first got to meet Fred Duran and Dooley. And, there was a couple of dogs that was aggressive, whereas King kind of is like, whatever, don't pay him attention. Aziz is a little more like his mama, and Onyx is a little more like his mama, where it's like, okay, if you want a problem, bring it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm loving that because they're able to go places, do things, but they're not backing down to nothing. And so he's coming along real nice. I can't wait to see what he's looking like at 2 years old. Paulo God Double XL American Bully Yard said, what about she-males, good or bad? All right. Let's get into it because I think that was the next topic. She-males, secondary sex characteristics when it comes to these dogs. Again, what people have to remember is when you go against nature, there's always a consequence. So a lot of times in the bully community and amongst a lot of bull-bred breeds, you hear that phrase, she-male, oh, I got a she-male. Is that a good thing? The truth is, no, it's not. Here's the thing when it comes to females and estrogen and the testosterone that can cause them to have the bigger heads, bigger jaws, thicker bone, thicker muscle, and all those things that we call them she-males for. when it comes to your females of a breed, the purpose of the female is to carry on the species, and she's got a lot of genetic variation in her. So when she has birth to her males, she gives them 50% of her genetic information. When she has birth to her females, she gives them 50% of her genetic information. This is to create a wider gene pool within her breedings, but also to create a little bit of consistency at the same time, even though those two concepts are kind of contradictory. So when you start breeding she males and you start getting these bigger head females and these females that what we have to remember is, so for instance, when it comes to working dogs, females are smarter. Not that smartness gives them more success. So when you start working a dog around 6 months to a year, what you tend to notice is the females are, all the pups, male or female, they're constantly thinking, analyzing, figuring. The males start getting that testosterone boost around 8-9 months to a year, and they're figuring, but then they're willing to stop figuring and take risk. That risk leads into more successes for that male, especially if he's taking calculated risks. With the female, she tends to not take as many risks. She tends to be constantly thinking and analyzing at a high pace when they're working dogs. So when you start breeding your she-male and you start lowering that testosterone and lowering the estrogen and doing those things that reflect or that are the reflection of more testosterone, what you start getting is females that are, one, less thoughtful. So now we're just talking about the cognitive ability. And you need that because when she's dealing with pups are watching their mom think and figure. So then they try to imitate and think and figure. There's a lot of things that goes on between her and those pups that we don't necessarily analyze as humans and think about. So when it comes to those pups, they learn from her hearing something and looking. Your females that are more masculine tend to lose those traits when it comes to cognitive ability. The other thing with she-males is so for instance, when it comes to females, what do we know? They tend to be, their coat tends to be a little less dull than males. Males' coat tends to be shiny, more luxurious because it's made for them to stand out. They tend to have a little less muscle. Females in most breeds tend to be slightly longer than the males. What else do we notice with females? They tend to think more. They tend to analyze more. They tend to be more alert. The male feels female doesn't want you near the fence. The male might let you near the fence and then he goes after the fence because he feels tough. He can let you come to that fence. The female's kind of watching before you even get there. Females tend to be more naturally protective. When you start breeding she-males, you start to lose those traits in mind, body, and soul. When you start making them more compact, the female tends to be longer than the male for a reason. The male tends to be more square shaped when you're looking at him from the side due to the fact so he can take impact when he is colliding with other males and they're fighting other animals, whatever it may be. The pit bull, that's why it was a square, because when they hit each other, they didn't want them to bounce off each other sideways and then that other dog rushes. They wanted each other to bounce off back, or they want each other to hit and stay together. When your dog tends to be longer, one of the reasons the female, I should say, tends to be longer in appearance, shorter, smaller, longer in appearance, is because she's got her reproductive organs in there. So when we start compacting these females, we are affecting all these things: the mind, the body, the ability, the intelligence. We're affecting all those things. So when you start having females that are more masculine, you're losing the traits that dogs need to be dogs when they're females, and that those male pups, who are basically the same as the female pups when they're young, lose from being around their mother, because now they've got this dude with nipples as their mom. Your male dog, regardless of how friendly he is doesn't do as well with pups. So as you notice over the years, the more masculine females have gotten, and in those breeds that tend to like to breed a masculine she-male or whatever, the mothering nature of those dogs tends to decline. The intelligence of those females tends to decline. Their ability to give birth tends to decline. So the she-male is not a good thing, but can we balance that in the American bully community since we like the big head, the shoulders, and all that stuff? Yes, but we have to know when we're creating a balance. Your females should look like females. They can still have the big head, they can still have the muscle, but they need to look like females. And as long as you're aiming for that with your females by not breeding to these so-called she-males, then you should still be able to get the look you're looking for. And that is the purpose of line breeding and inbreeding, so that you can have females that look like females, take that line bred and inbred male to that female, and then get the look that you wanted without having to go hunting down some female that looks like a dude. So is a she-male a good thing? It looks great on Facebook to say, hey, and matter of fact, Cardi is a perfect example. She is a muscular, thick shoulder female. Lady Justice is similar. I think Lady Justice has a little more female characteristics than Cardi, but we want to get away from that. So we want the bone from Cardi. We want the drive that she's got. We want everything, but we don't want to try to compound it and get more masculine females. She's as masculine as we want to get within our yard. And I think breeders have to look at that and really think about that when you're going to these she-males. You're taking a male to a she-male, and there's things you're going to lose because a she-male is not natural. So anything you do that's not natural is going to cause issues. So you're going to tend to have females that don't get pregnant as well, or they do get pregnant, but the litters are small. Your sex organs have less room to operate correctly, or they don't have the proper hormones being utilized in them to operate correctly. When you start getting organs that don't operate correctly, they start shutting down. They lead to cancer. They shut down or they get weaker, and it leads to other organs because the whole body is attached. So no, the she-male is not a good thing. If you have one, don't breed her, but don't breed for it. You know what I mean? Start looking at the functionality of your dogs and analyzing their temperament, things like that. But you don't want to breed two she-males to get more she-males, because then all you're doing is you're deteriorating the things that dogs, that offspring get from their mom and even their sisters. You know what I mean? So that's always going to be something to think about. Next topic came from Antoine Rivera. Hold on, let me see and make sure I didn't miss any comments. Let's see. Jonathan Soto, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Where are we at? 6:59. So I am about 20 minutes behind in the comments. Major League said bet. Let's see. Cushaholic said, what do you think about gaff line? I like what I've heard about those dogs. I've never dealt with the gaff dogs, the Amstaff dogs. But I do like what I've heard from them. I have a lot of respect from what I've heard from the breeder of gaff. But I have never personally dealt with any of the gaff dogs. Let's see. Zach Sifferman said, thank you for your knowledge and time, bro. No problem, man. Thanks for tuning in. Again, I want to repeat, make sure you guys, like now I think I'm losing the Facebook comments. Join over to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, comment there. That way I can see, I guarantee you can see your comments. Cody said, here in the UK, most XLs are birthed naturally with little to no complications. Issue is most breed for color and mass, not so much temperament. But you know what? That's the bully community. Most people breed for color and mass. They don't, and visual features, forgetting that temperament is a visual feature if you learn how to look at it. But most of the bully community is that way. I do know UK has a lot of BGK dogs in their blood, so that could be. because if I'm not mistaken, Andre does natural births, so that could be why a lot of them are done that way. But here in America, we are C-sectioned up. And Putin 100 said, would you be better off putting she-male with smaller male with smaller head and good temperament? Yes, it's up to you. What I would say is, let's say you got a she-male, you want to keep that. You don't want to lose anything. What I would probably do is take her to get a more functional, more sound dog. I would take her to a smaller male, and then keep the I would gamble on taking one of the males off of it. And this is why I say that. This is why I say this. You keep the male off of her, and he's going to have less of his dad's genetic less of his dad's genetic information, but he's still going to have some. So therefore, hopefully you can keep what it is you like about her, whether it's her big head, whatever it is, but still all of a sudden kind of bring it down a little bit. But if you have a she-male and you want to keep that, you don't want to go away from it, then now on the flip side, your females off of that litter to that smaller male are going to give you 50-50 genetics of both her and the male. So therefore, there's a higher chance of you getting the smaller dogs if you keep a female. I would say it depends on you as the breeder. If you want a she-male and you're concerned with the things that I mentioned, then look for the temperament in pups, and then you start breeding for temperament. The end all be all when it comes to dogs is breeding for temperament and breeding for ability, performance. When you start doing those things, it starts to balance things within your yard. And that's why all of our dogs that were working breeds were so much healthier than our dogs today that we have that are no longer working. So if you start looking for a specific temperament, the minute you start breeding for a temperament and not a certain look, you're going to start getting better dogs. So what I would say is, if you do have that she-male, again, it's up to you. You still want to maintain size and everything. You should be able to maintain that in your males. You shouldn't have to maintain that in your female. So let's say you do breed her to a large male, then she's still a female. So what I would aim for is those males off of there that get more of her genetics. Take that smallest one, and hopefully he's got a lot of her type that you like about her, but at the same time, now you can start creating along a line of dogs that are going to hopefully start producing you smaller females. But if you're trying to really remove the she-male factor, you're going to have to take her to a smaller male, and then keep the pups off of that tend to be. All right, I should be back. I don't know why it does that, and it's always right around an hour and 20 minutes. It kicks me out for some reason, and I keep getting all these error messages. But we are back. So let's see. Bully View, what's up? Ed said, what's up, Eric? What's up, Asani? Thanks for joining in, man. Major League Canine said, but in the show ring, when you see XL females that look feminine, it doesn't allow them to compete at the champ level. So it's a catch-22. If we are going to ever see a female XL Grand Champion, I agree. But that has always been the downfall of the show ring, not just in bullies, but with every breed. Breeding for looks has always been the downfall of every breed once that breed hits the show ring. That's one of the reasons the Dogo breeders were pissed off that the AKC took on the Dogo, because now you're going to have those dogs and that blood out there that is going to eventually, hey, what's up, become less healthy, less able, and tend to gain more weight, thicker bone, you start going that route when you get into the show ring because they're looking for what's more impressive. But that's with every breed. So I agree with you 100%. But judges need to be able to look at those females that make a good female American bully without being a so-called she-male. And so that's kind of the judge's fault and those breeders that breed for it. Let's get to the next topic, and I'll get back into the comments. Antoine Rivera said, "Is it an uneven playing field in the show?" There we go, in the show ring for XLs. Flaw for flaw, do XLs get discriminated against? From what I understand, yes, it is more difficult for XLs. They just have more body. There's more to work with for them to hit that structure that the bully community is looking for, the ABKC American bully community is looking for. The compact, that whole look, short legs, compact, square in the front. Square from the side is obtainable for most breeds in any size. But when it comes to that square in the front, from toe up to the leg, across the chest, and then back down to the ground, that square is difficult for an XL, and which is why you see a lot of the show breeders tend to breed smaller. Your XL champions and grand champions. XL goes from 20 to 23 inches. They should be able to have XLs at 22, 23 inches that are successful. Instead, what we have is XLs ranging from 20 to 21 inches, 21 and a half. I think the tallest grand champion, which is UKC, is Heather from Oily Drop Bullies, one of my favorite dogs, which is Prince Charmer. I think she said he's 24 and a half inches. To me, that's an XL. I don't want to call my dog an XL. It's 20 inches, and I walk into PetSmart, and the golden retrievers are walking by bigger than them, and I'm telling them this is an XL bully. Well, do they have XL golden retriever? I don't know. To me, it's just weird to call a dog XL, and he's only 20 inches. My Floyd is 19 and a half inches. So it's like 20 inches isn't a big dog, yet we're calling it XL. But since the class goes from 20 to 23 inches, then they should be a larger dog. I made a post. They should be able to accomplish that goal as a larger dog. I believe, because I made a post a few weeks ago in a bunch of groups asking to see pockets and what was their height. Then I made a post asking to see standards and what was their height. All these classes breed to the small end. The average pocket that was posted was 14 and a half to 15 inches. The pocket goes from 14 to 17 inches. The average standard, I did notice, was more variety within the standard, but they tended to range going from 17 to 20 inches. They tended to range around 18, 19 inches. I don't think I saw too many that were at that 17 and a half inches. We already know with the XLs, when it comes to the show ring, the average one is around that 21, 22 inch mark. Why? Because they're trying to make them as small and compact as possible. But if that's the case, then we need to get rid of the 23 inches. We know that the ABKC at some point, according to Dave Wilson, plans on putting a separation between the classes. Right now, there's just a division. So you go 17 to 20 17 to 20 is your standard, then 20 to 23 inches is your XL. There's no true division. There's just a separation. We know he plans on doing a separation eventually. Now, normally when you do that separation, the XL, that would make the XL get a little larger. The standard will stay, the XL will get a little larger, and the pocket will get a little smaller. But he also stated that separation will only be an inch. So if it's only an inch, that means instead what they could just do is take off the highest number. So now your pocket, instead of going 14 to 17 inches, goes from 14 to 16 inches. Your standard, instead of going from 17 to 20 inches, now goes from 17 to 19 inches. Your XL, instead of going from 20 to 23 inches, only goes 20 to 22 inches. Now, they do allow dogs to be larger when it comes to the XL. You just have to have breed type. So that could be what they do so that the XL doesn't get larger. But then the problem with that is you're doing a 1 inch separation and calling that a separation. A separation should be noticeable to the eye. I shouldn't have to measure it. And if the dog is only a 1-inch separation, that means it's not noticeable. So it'll be interesting to see, what they do when it comes to that. But for right now, like I said, the XL's got a harder game because he's supposed to be a big dog, but we're breeding him more compact and shorter. So when it comes to being in the show ring, from what I've heard from most breeders, is yes, it is more difficult for the XL to win when he goes against the standards in the pockets, because it's more difficult for him to hit that ABKC illustration that they gave to us several months ago. Let's see, head back to the comments. Dom Seguenza said, what can I expect if I take my pocket male to a classic female? Her dad looked more toward the terrier side. Her mom looked pocket. She's very healthy and athletic. When it comes to taking pockets to classics, a lot of people will tell you that's going to cause high rears. It doesn't. We've bred greyhounds to pit bulls and didn't cause high rears. I've dealt with bull lurchers. I've dealt with all kinds. High rear is what your dog is going to genetically throw. If your dogs are not throwing high rears, if it's not genetically in them to throw high rears, it's genetically in them to level out, then as long as they go to another dog that levels out, no matter what, they'll level out regardless of the size difference. Now, if you do have high rears genetically in your dog, then the size difference can exacerbate the high rear aspect. But other than that, you figure you're going to end up throwing some pockets and you're going to throw some classics. And because of the thickness of the pocket, you might throw some classics that end up growing into actual standards. So that's pretty much what you're going to get: pockets, classics, and standards by breeding a classic to a pocket. Let's see. Somebody from Facebook said, how are you devoting your time to multiple dogs? Also, Facebook, I keep trying to remind myself, if you're on Facebook, I'm seeing the comments again, but to guarantee that I see your comments, jump over to YouTube, Thrower Bullies YouTube, and then that way I can guarantee see your comments and see who you are. But this Facebook person said, what's up, son? How are you devoting your time to multiple dogs as far as certain amount of bonding and quality time with each dog? Mine are those and family dogs, and we move as a pack. With me having multiple dogs, I think it can be accomplished depending on how much you are into your dogs, up to about, I'd say 5, 6 dogs. When you start getting over that, that becomes difficult. Now, if you've got 5, 6 dogs and they're living in the home with you, then it's simple. I still do believe what happens in those situations is people miss out on the individual time with each of the dogs. So you've got to make the time. I work. Oh, thank you. I work. I've got my kids. They've got extra activities, school, fighting, things like that, their own life, my wife. And then I've got my dogs. And so you have to take that time. I'm not a person that does a lot of lovey-dovey type bonding with my dogs. So it's more me going out in the yard, messing with them. But you're going to have to schedule that time so that you do take the time out of the day to spend time with your dogs as a group, if you can. And if you can't trust them as a group, then you got to make sure you're able to spend the time with them individually. But it's got to be scheduled, or it's got to come natural to you. One of those two things, or both. For you to be able to devote that time. When you start seeing kennels and they've got, 15, 20, 30 dogs, I don't believe it's really possible unless, like, for instance, I also have kids. So my oldest son is 27, my daughter's 24, and I think my youngest son is 19 or 20. I'm forgetting their ages. Actually, I think I might be putting an extra year on them. But my son, Cardi Bull, is, though she's Thrower Bully, that's his dog. They have a bond that I don't necessarily have. Floyd, as nutty as he has been my youngest son's right-hand man since he was a puppy, and my youngest son Floyd's 15. My youngest son is, I think, 19. So he's been with Floyd since he was 4 or 5. As crazy and aggressive as Floyd is, those two are like like brothers. And that's when he was a little, he always called him his puppy brother. But so luckily, if you've got family, then different members of your family can also assist with that human bond. It doesn't always have to be you. I don't bond with my dogs like that. My dogs know when they're dealing with me. If I'm chilling, then we can bond. But other than that, I don't. My family is the ones that bond with them. I'm constantly testing them, analyzing them. That's what I do. And the dogs see me coming, they look like, is he watching me just to watch what I do, or is he actually going to come and chill with me? So my bond time with my dogs is playing fetch, working the flirt pole, working the spring pole. My dogs look at it as bonding. I don't look at it as bonding because I'm analyzing that. You know what I mean? I don't really form that lovey-dovey type bond. Luckily, I have a family that does, and that's where they get their little extra treats and all that stuff from. But you, as a breeder and as a pet owner, if you've got multiple dogs, you need to have times where you are able to bond in whatever form that you do with those dogs, whether it's exercise, walk, whatever it is. That's what I do when I think about bonding with a dog. Exercise, walk. You also need to be able to spend individual time with those dogs so that you get to know that dog on an individual basis. And the only way to do that is it either naturally comes to you, or you're going to have to schedule it. You know what time you get off work. You know what time you get home. This is when I'm going to take the time to do these things. Let's see. Mr. J said the show has ruined many dogs. Yes, the showring has actually ruined every breed known to mankind. And I know show people don't like hearing that, but it's just the truth. It's a factor. You figure even if we go to the extremes of the pit bull, it was a fighting dog. Then they took it, changed the name of it to American Staffordshire Terrier, and started taking it to the show ring, and started those dogs that were in the show, and those dogs that came from those dogs, what did they do? They were given out to pet homes instead of being shown. Well, prior to that, you didn't have issues with pit bulls attacking people. Why? Because part of the fight ring was they had to be handled by not only themselves, but possibly even the other guy you were going against. And if they bit, you lost your bet, and everybody watching that was betting too lost their bet if they bit a human. So were there dogs? I think Colby had a dog that killed his pit bull, that game pit, that killed his nephew or grandson. So of course they're dogs. So there were situations, but back then when dogs were working, you didn't have a lot of issues with dogs attacking and biting people unless they were protection dogs. But those dogs that were used for hunting, those dogs that were used for fighting, wasn't an issue. And one of the things that came with gameness was tolerance of the human hand and high adrenaline situations. So when we bred out gameness to create the American Staffordshire Terrier, one of the things that we know came with breeding that out was an increase in aggression towards humans. The show breeder, of course, is going to keep the dog that will allow the judge to look in his mouth and all those other things. But then it's selling those other dogs off as pets instead of show dogs. Those people who are breeding those pet dogs, and those pet dogs are going to other people. And next thing you know, the gameness is slowly decreasing and the human aggression is slowly increasing. So again, the show ring has ruined every breed known to man due to the fact it tends to breed them for a more luxurious fur. It tends to breed them for a thicker bone, tends to breed them for more weight, not necessarily muscle. And there you have it. Even with the dogo, a lot of the dogo breeders that are now been accepted in the AKC ring, oh, well, we still work our dogs. Taking your dog out occasionally to jump on your neighbor's pig is not working. And you're not breeding them for work. You're now breeding them for the show ring. So we will, over time, notice dogos that will probably become, because the dogo in working was bred to be a pack animal hunting. So when you start breeding for the show ring, you're going to notice all of a sudden those other traits of the dogo are going to rise to the top. You're going to probably start getting, in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to start getting more aggressive Dogo Argentinos towards dogs and also towards man. It's just what happens, along with the beautiful, thicker bone, thicker muscle, and all the stuff that the show ring goes for. And it's an unfortunate thing. I think the show ring people need to balance it. Matter of fact, you figure the original shows started off as what? They were people showing their working dogs, and they had a place where they could meet and show them to you. But it wasn't about the look. It was about you meeting the breeder and the breeder telling you about the dog's performance, or you already knowing it and then showing up there so that you could get it. Somehow it evolved into just looks. You figure what, about around 200 years ago, all of a sudden it evolved into just looks, and it just kind of ruined the breeds as they are. Mr. J says, see, James said facts. Let's see here. WKRK9, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Said, what is the average life expectancy of an XL? I've been having that conversation a lot lately. From what I've seen and what I'm getting from people, and you got to remember, this is the bully community. People lie, people keep secrets. I'm tending to notice it's between 5 and, I'm not going to give it 10, so I'll say 5 and 8 to 9 years is what I'm noticing. Does it have to be that way? No. It's because they're breeding a lot of bulldog traits into these dogs, so they're having bulldog issues. When you start breeding for short legs, thick bone, and all that stuff, if you're going to have the thick bone and the muscle, you're going to need longer legs so that when that dog is running, playing, walking, it is able to build momentum. When the dog runs and it reaches its max speed, it's able to maintain that max speed off of momentum, and then it slows down as it gets tired. Some dogs will maintain the ability to pick it back up if they need. With the bullies, rather than the front legs being used to grab dirt and pull to gain speed, to actually not to gain speed, but to maintain speed, what we're noticing with the bullies, when you watch a lot of them because of their build, their front legs are just crutches. They're just used to stop the front end from landing on the ground. And when you do that with these shorter limbs, you're putting more pressure on the heart, the veins, the lungs and everything else. So what's happening with these bullies is we're breeding in these bulldog traits, and we're putting more pressure on their organs, and along with everything else that comes along with bulldogs. So I would say between the two, I would say 5 to 9 years. I'll give the benefit of the doubt, and I'll say 6 to 9 years. But there are a lot of bullies that die, XLs, that die at less than 6 years old, or right around 6. And that's inexcusable. And then the problem is breeders are still breeding. When I was younger, if you bred to a dog and that dog died at 6, 7, even 8 years old, you no longer bred. Though hopefully you had offspring that had other blood in them and you continued that. But you would no longer take that pup directly off of that dog and continue breeding that to dogs. You stopped because there was an issue. We didn't care about going to the vet, figuring out what it was. You just stopped, and that was that. And the bully community is different. People who have dogs die at 6 still sell semen off of them that they have. They'll still sell, they'll still take direct offspring dogs that are line bred or inbred off of them, and they'll still use them for breeding. The bully community, for whatever reasons, doesn't care. Eventually, it's going to backfire when all these lack of caring and body structure starts coming together. It's going to backfire, and everybody's going to have to deal with that. I won't, because I'm not going to breed along those lines. So I'll say, from what I've been hearing, to give the dog the benefit of the doubt, I'll say the XL life expectancy probably ranging from 6 to 9 years. Mr. J said, with the separation of classes by an inch or two, what happens to the in-betweeners? They would get canceled out. They would not be able to show. If that's how it's done with other breeds. It's going to be weird, because if you're only doing an inch separation, which I think is what he's saying, so I'm assuming they're to keep the dogs as similar as possible to the way they're showing up in the show ring, they'll probably take an inch off of each class. Now you only have 2 inches to hit your mark. which is how you're supposed to do the schnauzer. There's only 2 inches. You have 3 different classes, and there's only 2 inches to hit your mark. If you're below it or under it, you're out the ring. So if they stick to that, that's what's going to happen. All those tweeners, as they like to call them, will be kicked out the ring because they won't have a place. They won't be standard or XL, and they won't be pocket or standard. So that breeder is going to have to go back and breed to get in, fit in where he's supposed to fit in. James Galloway said Kobe was first to put All right, I'm having issues today. What does that say? It's so small I can't even read it. But yeah, a lot of when it comes to Kobe, a lot of the pit bull community did not like the fact that he got down with, AKC and, assisted in creating the American Staffordshire Terrier. But of anybody to do it, he was definitely going to be the one. Kobe was, a great marketer. Not that he didn't have some game dogs, he did. But he was great at marketing, so of course he made sure he got in on that, and he did take a lot of flack for it. Dom said everyone should try letting their dogs husk some husk some coconut. Seems like a great jaw workout. Were you the one I saw your dog with the coconuts? I think it was you. I just saw somebody that this week that was doing that. It is a great workout for the jaws, and the dogs love it. Let's get back to the next topic. Running to the vet versus running to Facebook. This one's going to be quick. It's a catch-22. You get a lot of people that run to the vet and they spend a couple $100s on something that they could have typed the question in on Facebook and somebody would have gave them the answer. But when you go in on Facebook, you got to sift through it because a lot of people just want to give answers or they jump on Google before they answer. I don't understand that. If I don't know the answer to something, I kind of wait to see what answers people have and whatever makes sense. Facebook community, you can tell there's people that don't know the answer to a question. They'll Google it and then they jump on Facebook with it. And in my opinion, that's a bad thing. So it's a gamble. If it's something major, like for myself, until Bullies, I hadn't been to the vet in probably over 20 years. There was just no need for me to. If my dogs had injuries, I knew how to staple, I knew how to stitch, I knew how to do, I had access to antibiotics, I knew how to do the things I needed. Until Bullies with these surgicals and C-sections, now I'm back in the vet. But there are a lot of people who are informative on Facebook. You are going to have to use common sense to sift through those answers or find yourself a mentor that you feel you can trust. And that will save you a lot of money when it comes to these vets and these simple things that you can fix at home that a vet's going to charge you a couple $100s for. Next topic was Kobe Koba says C-section or natural. We kind of touched on that earlier. Natural is best, but be careful because of the way these dogs are bred and the way that they develop. You want to make sure that, if it's a large litter, chances are you'll be able to have a C-section. But just like we discussed earlier, be careful, be ready to do that emergency C-section, know how your dogs were birthed, and go from there. Tony Ma said, if you don't have show quality or working bulls, why don't I see? Ooh, okay. So Tony Ma said, if you don't have show quality or working bulls, why don't I see a lot of pet home pups? It's because of the money, like we talked about earlier. If you got consistency in your yard, then I don't have a problem with you not pet homing your pups and letting them be allowed to breed. If you're, because not all, you can have a dog that is great for homes, home protectors, but are not show quality and they're not working. But you still breed great dogs. Of Floyd's last litter, actually, skip that. Go to Cardi Bull's last litter. They're all great dogs. They'll never be in the show because those people aren't in the show. They'll never work them because they're not into working. They're just into great home family dogs that are willing to protect their home and family. And that's what we look at producing. And as we start fine tuning things, then we'll eventually go into the show ring. But when we get into the show ring, we're going for grand champion. We're not going for just champing out dogs, especially in the XL world, because it tends to be fairly easy. So, you know, when we do decide to step into that show ring and we tell people, okay, this is show quality, it will be because we want to them and us to be going for a grand champion with that litter and with eventually whatever we have that we're producing on a consistent basis. But so I don't have a problem with dogs being pet home and bred because that is 90% of the dogs in our human population. But I do get what you're saying in the fact of a lot, but we will, and this is what I was going to get to, we will hold papers. We've had dogs that this doesn't really fit, so we held the papers on it. And that's what needs to take place more in the bully community is when you know you are breeding dogs that are quality of breeding, then cool, go ahead and sell them with their papers. But people in the bully community, though these dogs are getting extremely popular, their popularity is still mostly within breeders. So people want to sell to breeders. And what do breeders want? They want papers. So is it about the money? It is 100% about the money. And the problem that makes it easy to get away with is the bully community likes to misuse the word tool. Everybody claims, oh, well, that's a good tool. Okay, the dog pants as soon as he comes out the kennel. But that's a good tool. Why? Because he's got bone and he's thick and he's got head, okay? But he's obviously not healthy. That's not a tool. When I was young, a tool, let's say you were breeding pits, a tool was that dog that may not be able to function as well because he was larger. He may have lacked some gameness, but you could breed to him to obtain the drives that you were in. You could breed to him to get a little bit of size and then breed back into your line to get the traits that whatever those traits were you were looking for. In the bully community, a tool has turned into that dog that shouldn't have ever been bred is now become a tool and is out there seen and being shown to people. So when you get in different communities, let's say you're dealing with Rottweilers, your tool, if you're breeding them for protection, or band dogs or cane corsos, if you're breeding for protection, you get that pup, he's big, you like it, but he's goofy and he's friendly with everybody. He's a tool because he's healthy, he's functional, he just isn't doesn't have the same protective drive that you're looking for. So you take that pup, you breed him back into your line to get larger dogs and start creating larger dogs that are protective from that pup that was not protected. That's the purpose in a tool. The bully community, we're using tools just because they have a big head, but they're non-functional, they're unhealthy. We misuse the word tool so that we can sell those dogs as breeding quality dogs and charge top price for those dogs. And that is the problem. Last topic was Travis Franklin said green fluid around the eyes. 9 times out of 10, Travis, is going to be due to allergies, and the allergies are always due to the immune system. What you want to do is keep it clean as possible to prevent as much dirt around the eyes as possible. Always wipe it away when you see it to help clean the eye. There are drops I know that help clean them also. And then from there, exercise. You want to boost the immune system. Exercise and play, yogurt, bananas for the vitamin C. Carrots also help detoxify the body, but also have vitamin C. Canned pumpkin, sardines, blueberries, red bell pepper. Garlic cloves are going to help the dog get that nutrients through its system. They also help detoxify the dog system. Fasting, fast once a week so that the dog has the opportunity to clean its whole system out. And then the day after the fast, depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking to put weight on your dog, then you go to your protein diet, which is what I do. And they go to, their raw ground beef and everything, and along with their kibble. If I've known I have an issue, then the day after I fast, that's when I go to my fruit and veggies diet mixed with the kibble. And I do fruit and veggies one day, kibble the next day, fruit and veggies one day, kibble the next day. And then I fast on Sundays. They don't eat at all. They just get fresh water. But that will help. Adding a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar to the dog system also helps with the digestive system, cleaning out the system. But to boost that immune system, you want to clean out the system. The first way to do it, one, wipe it off the dog every time you see it. Just take a warm cloth and wipe it off. Then you want to fast that dog. The day you notice it, fast that dog. Don't feed them. Wait 24 hours. And then give them a diet that's going to boost the immune system. There are supplements that you can use. I don't use supplements, so I can't speak on those for you. But that's what you want to do, is boost the immune system. That's it for the comments. Let me go ahead and post the link. That's it for the topics. I'm going to post the link. So anyone wants to join in, we can go ahead and continue for a little bit longer. And it should be showing it now. Let me get back to your comments. Everyone should be trying letting their dog. Oh yeah, yes, that is definitely a good jaw workout. And it also messing with coconut husk. When you watch dogs doing it, I've never done it, but when you watch dogs that are doing it, you can see them thinking, figuring how to get up in there. And then the coconut is good for the dog. So let's see here. 862 said, I would think a XL life expectancy would be similar to a big breed like Dane, 7 to 9 years, or in that area. I agree. I do believe that because of the XL being that 20 to 23 inches, even 23 to 24, 25 inches, as long as they've got some leg length on them, that enables them to run and play at ease. So they're not just sitting around because they're not comfortable running around. And when they do run around, they're able to build momentum. They should be able to go beyond 9 years. And I think that needs to be the goal of the bully community. But when you look at the XL in height compared to other dogs of its height, then of course you got to throw in the bone and the muscle. We should be trying to achieve 12 years at least, 12, 13 years at least. But I would say around 10 years should be good. Anything that's dying before 7 years, that's a problem, because you do have Great Danes that are living at least 7 to 10 years. So we should always be aiming for the highest, because if we're aiming for 9, then that means you're going to have some dogs that live to 12, and you're going to have some dogs that die at 6. So we should be aiming as high as possible with the dogs we have. James Galloway said 862 it should be, but because of the health they're getting from bulldogs, it's not so. Exactly. And that's what it is, the bulldog traits. The more we breed for bone, breed for muscle, breed for the head, but breed away from the bulldog traits. Try to get away from that. There's other breeds that were using this breed to get that. And if we got it from it, okay, cool. Now we stole the bone from the bulldog, and whatever other features. Now let's start breeding healthier dogs. And if that gives us a little less bone, so be it. The bully still stands on its own. So be it. Naheem Scott said, what's up? What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Dob and Seguenza said, I heard Killing Noise Kennel boy Debo lived to like 8 to 19 years. See, that's what we should be aiming for. Those are the dogs we should be breeding to. And when you can get to those dogs, then you can start breeding for these other features, but it's just got a balance. But right now, the bully community is willing to breed to dogs that live 5 years, and they'll breed to them, or they'll breed to their their offspring. James, but that's dope. I want to look into that. James Galloway said, "You froze up. We can't hear you. Hopefully, you guys can hear me now, and I think you can." Let's see. Beth B said, "What height do you?" Hold on, let me scroll down here. Okay, yeah. So I'm not too far away from catching up in the comments, and it looks like everything's going good. So Beth said, "What height do you think the XL should be? Up to 25?" Um, personally think that I would like to see the XL up to, I would say 25 inches is good. That's a good mark. And fluctuating between 24, 26 inches. Then we truly have a XL, extra large dog, not just a XL bully. As long as they make room and adjustments for leg length, things like that, then you have a healthier dog. You can still get the compact as far as the length of the dog, as far as the width of the dog. You can still get that, but it's just going to be a little taller. You're going to create a healthier dog by doing so. Some people say, "Oh, that's just legs. That's not going to do it." Okay, well, go look at all your short-legged dogs. There has to be something said for that, and I think I would say right around 25 inches. To me, that's perfect. Now you really have a big dog. Or you really have an XL dog. Mr. J says selective breeding has made a lot of dogs weaker. Yes. They traded hardiness and longevity for prettiness. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. James Galloway says some people on there is just trolls also. Not sure as far as Facebook. Yeah. I had a major troll. The greatest thing about trolls is when you piss them off. I had a guy that trolls me, and last week he went live, and his whole live for I think it was like 34, 38 minutes, somebody sent it to me, was just all about bashing Daryl Thor. My only concern was just make sure you say my name. He and I went live before he got mad, and he was upset at some of the things that I had to say to him because he used to own a Grand Champion. But when I would question him on things or pinpoint him into things he didn't know that he was talking, when he didn't know what he was talking about, he would start arguing with people in the comments because some of y'all was on there and you was letting him have it because you know more than he does. And so we finally got off the live, and then he went live again, and it was all about bashing me, bashing the people who watch me. But I think it's great when you can frustrate your trolls just by speaking truth. That's a great thing. And the main thing with trolls is they just need to say your name. If they're going to type your name, they need to spell it correctly. If they're going to say your name, they need to pronounce it correctly. I don't like subliminal trolls. They get on my nerves because then nobody knows who they're talking about. But yeah, the trolls are a huge problem on Facebook. And a lot of these trolls are people who are respected in the community. But the minute someone comes along that they feel is stepping on their toes, next thing you know, they evolve from reputable breeders who nobody knew, didn't know nothing about dogs, and they turn into trolls. And those tend to be your trolls, people that don't know dogs, people who have the dogs memorized. They know who's the grandfather of this and who's the auntie of that and who bred this and all that, but they don't know dogs. So when the conversation evolves outside of bullies to get attention, they're left to trolling. Let's see. I Putin 100 said, "Have you ever had a stray pull up on your dog on a walk before?" I have had it. We had one experience. Luckily, I have Floyd. actually 2 experiences, but not strays. They were owned by people who were just reckless with their dogs because they thought their dogs were tough. As far as strays, we don't have a lot of strays in my neighborhood because we have coyotes, so that kind of eliminates that. Um, when I used to live in LA and actually in the city instead of just on the outside of the city like we do now. When I actually lived in LA, in Carson, shout out to C. Arson, um, we would have strays every now and then run up on our dogs, but we had aggressive dogs, so they usually knew they was just hood dogs. So they usually knew not to approach. They would run up barking and growling, but they would never, if you kept your dog on leash, they would never close in that distance. Um, Cardi Bull had one issue where a dude's dog was loose, kind of ran up on her, but as soon as she lunged at him, he backed off, and that was kind of it. Other than that, we don't have strays in our areas because we have coyotes. And when you go out in our fields, that's when you find the strays because they're dead. Most of them tend to be people's pets where they jumped in the yard and got their dog. But we don't have a lot of strays where I'm at. Major League Canine said we need working events for American Bullies. I agree 100%. At shows like the old school ADBA shows, i.e., hang time, tug of war, weight pulling, function over color. From what I understand, ABKC did used to have some events, and I guess it just kind of faded for whatever reasons. I know sometimes facilities can be difficult. I've heard things about them bringing it back, but I think that should be a major aspect in the breed, so that those dogs, because right now we have a breed that hates its athletic version, and you don't have that, or its functioning working version. When you go in other breeds, even your AKC snobbish show breeder might have a golden retriever that is worthless, but they still respect the golden retrievers that are smaller, leaner, more functional. The American bully community, like the troll I was telling you guys about, he used to go live and just bash athletic dogs and would actually say the word athletic. They were anti-athletic dogs, anti-functional dogs. And then the bully community gets mad at the exotic community, but it's like you guys opened the door for that by being anti-functionality, because the exotic wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the pocket. So I agree 100%. I do think they need to get back to that so that they can educate a lot of these show breeders into why you need these dogs. Because once the show ring starts backfiring, those show dogs start backfiring, it's good to have those working dogs so that you can go to, lean the dog up, get a little more functionality, health, and then go. Because if all we're using is genetic health testing for health, the dogs are still going to die. You need to know functionality, ability, intelligence. You need to include all that. Just genetic health testing can tell you what the dog's susceptible of, but it's not going to increase the dog's lifespan. Let's see. Dom Seguinza said, yes, sir. It was me. I thought so. I thought it was you because I remember that with the coconut. Let's see. James Galloway said, I always have pups head and shoulders measured before birth and keep a vet and great insurance on standby just in case. There you go. There you go. And that is what people need to be ready for. I have never done the measuring of the head and shoulders, but I have heard of people doing it where the vet's actually looking at them on the inside, checking them out, making sure it fits down the birth canal. But like I said, people, do your homework. And as you can see, James Galloway has been doing his homework to make sure that he can do natural births. Eric Maxwell said, per home pups in the bully world has a loophole with the single registration. That is a problem. I even get a lot of people that hit me up, how can I get my dog registered? My first question to them always is, why don't you have papers already? We have a dog right now that we know we kept papers on, and we have a sneaky feeling that person is going to single register the dog and start breeding. So it's a learning lesson for us, and we'll handle that when the time comes. But but out of the entire litter, there's one individual that we got to worry about. That we suspect it. We don't know it for certain, but we suspect it. But that single registration does open that up. Eric Maxwell, the loophole only exists because the breeders refuse to soft cull. And that's what it goes. And that's the mistake we made. If you contractually have, let's say you give a pup, you put a pup out there and you want to watch it develop and you let the person know, look, by the time the pup is 8 weeks old, I need to review it. And at that point, if I'm cool with it, I'll give you your papers. If I'm not, you're going to have it cold. The decision is on me. And I'm spayed and neutered, not cold. But that's what a soft cull is. And if I'm not, then you're going to have that dog spayed and neutered. By doing this, and they sign that contract, and that's what we should have done and we'll start doing, is we'll hold our papers and watch the dog's development. If the dog develops how we like, then cool. Here's your papers. You can go ahead and do what you want and say you got it from Thorough Bullies. If the dog doesn't develop in a manner that we like, and I'm talking structure and temperament, then we'll say, you're not getting papers, but you still got a great dog. But you're not going to be able to breed it. And according to the contract you signed, it's now time for you to go have that dog neutered. Here's the problem with neutering dogs at an early age. You take away their development in both male and female. So they don't turn out to be the dogs that they could have. So we've kind of been, my cousin and I have been kind of tossing back and forth on how to go about that. Even if it's to the point where we say, okay, you can't breed that dog. But if you do breed that dog, then against us wanting you to breed that dog, you have to give us all the pups. You're not allowed to sell it. Then that way you could take the person to court on any money that they made off of those dogs. So we're trying to figure out little things to do to get around that, especially if it's a male and they breed him at a year. But of course, I don't want you spading your male at a year because he's not fully developing. Dogs really shouldn't be neutered till they're around 2 years old. So it's a tricky situation. It's a catch-22. Somebody from Facebook said DT was good, homie. What it do, Bully World? Whoever that is, thanks for joining in. I can't see the Facebook comments. If you're on Facebook, join over to YouTube so that we can see your comments and see who you are. But at least this time I'm seeing the comment. I just can't tell who it is. Eric Maxwell said, you as a breeder might rehome the pup as a pet only, but all buyers might not honor that and do the single registration. Exactly. And that's the problem. Once they, if I'm not mistaken, closing the stud books means that you can no longer single register dogs. The minute they do that, problem solved. But until they do that, it's always going to be an issue. Because at the same time, I don't want you to get a pup spayed at a year old. You tell somebody, where'd you get that dog from? From Thorough Bullies. Well, why is he not developed by like the rest of Thorough Bullies? Oh, because I had to get him spayed at a year old. You know what I mean? It's just, it'll be easier if they just close the stud books in single registration. And that's that. You know what I mean? Then we can just hold the papers from the dogs and we're good. You can still have the pedigree, but we get to hold the papers and we're good. And we don't have to worry about you trying to register it unless you go to some off-name registry. James Galloway said, that's why you do it before pet homie. Exactly. How you feel about pre and probiotics? I think they are a necessity, especially within this breed. I don't do raw, I do kibble. I get my probiotics and prebiotics. I tend to get them from the fruits and vegetables I use. And then the probiotics, I get them from not only utilizing apple cider vinegar by putting that in their food and assisting with their system. I use yogurt. Plain yogurt. Do not get the non-fat yogurt. You just want to get plain yogurt. It's great for the dog's system. But even better than yogurt as a probiotic, and if I'm not mistaken, it's also a prebiotic. I have to look into that, but it's definitely one of the best probiotics, and that's sauerkraut. Make sure you get organic sauerkraut For those, Dion Peebles was on here earlier. If I'm not mistaken, he knows how to actually make sauerkraut. But if you sauerkraut is one of the best. Start off small because a lot of the dogs don't like the scent or the flavor, and then as you start increasing it, they'll usually take it. But sauerkraut is the best. If you don't have it or your dogs don't take it, then definitely use yogurt. Let's see here. If anybody wants to join in, there's the link right there to join in. But it looks like we're coming to an end. Would you consider, let's see, Jason said, would you consider a pup from a single registered parent? I know of a litter of them that look good so far. If I wasn't dealing with bullies, yes. If I was dealing with working dogs, and I've actually had dealt with single registered dogs that were working dogs, but I got to watch them work. If I'm dealing with bullies, I wouldn't, because of the stigma that comes with it. So I wouldn't deal with the single registered dog. Now, let's say he's single registered and for some reason he's got something that I can't find anywhere, then yeah, I would go ahead and go to that single registered dog. But if I could find it outside of that single registered dog, that's going to be my aim. Let's see. James Galloway said, I personally wouldn't, because you can't be certain of the pup's lineage. And that's the thing. You're not dealing with performance. You're dealing with looks. So it's, and not like, even like I said, let's say he's got something that I can't find anywhere, then it has to literally be something that I just can't find anywhere, because he's single registered. So it don't guarantee me that he's able to produce what it is that I like. He might have it, but it don't mean that the pup is able to produce it. Whereas if I've got a pedigree, that's an honest pedigree, the registry's backing it up, then I can look at those traits. If I see traits in him I like and they're being passed to him, chances are he's going to pass them on. Dom said, ever heard of a cap of Clorox in a bucket of water to prevent parvo and clean out system? Yes, but I've never done it. That's not something I would advise. I know people that live on it. I'm not live on it, but they live by it. They put a cap of water in their dogs. A cap of chlorine in their Clorox chlorine in their dogs' water bowls. I've never done it, and some people live by it. I can't advise it, and I can't speak against it, because I know of several healthy lines of dogs of various breeds of people that belong to people that do that, and those dogs are doing just fine. So I don't know about it preventing parvo, but I do know people that definitely do it. I don't. I never have. I can't speak for it or against it. Hold on. Where did the comments go? Oh, there we go. Let's see here. Top of the class, Bullies. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Naheem Scott said, has your dog ever test your authority once it hit maturity? Many times. Bully wise, King is just not that dude. But from what my cousin talks about with Lady Justice, I don't think she's tested him. Cardi has a way of testing you that is more with her physical presence. Push on you. I like to sit in this one area of the couch where I pull the coffee table closer to me, and she's determined to get in that area. I can put stuff there to block her from getting in that area, and she's determined. So she has her ways of testing you, but she's very indirect. Other than that, none of our dogs are really testers. They test you, but not as far as dominance. They're more looking to see what they can get away with, not necessarily dominance. And Cardi is a dominant dog, but it's more with people that aren't part of our family and with dogs that aren't in our home. She's dominant when it comes to that. But as far as like pushing her dominance, trying to, take dominance, let me switch over. She's not really that dog. She doesn't try to push dominance on you. What she will do is, she tries to get in places where she ain't supposed to be. Like there's no room. The way our couch corners, I pull the table in. There's no room for a 105-pound dog to get in there, but she's determined to get in there. And then every now and then she can get in there, and then she just lays down. But she knows I don't want her there. But she kind of tests you in that way, but not as far as like trying to dominate you. If I want her to let go of something, she lets it go. She listens very well. Facebook, somebody from Facebook said, man, this conversation was much needed. This is my first time catching you live. I'm not sure who that is, but thanks for tuning in. And like I've been saying, I can't see your comments. Some of the Facebook comments are showing up this week, but it's not showing who the person is. So if you go to YouTube, then I can see who you are and see your comments guaranteed. But sometimes Facebook works, sometimes it doesn't. But thanks for tuning in, man. Mr. J said I was in there for that live. He was so mad for no reason. Hey, you know what it is, dude. My thing with the dog community is it's not a matter of feeling invincible, but I am confident with speaking to anyone on any level. I've just been dealing with dogs for a long time, and I'm also confident enough that if you say something and I don't know it, then I'll just say I don't know, or I have no idea, or if I'm wrong, I don't have a problem saying you're right, or you know what I mean. So I'm able to go in those situations. I knew he was coming on that live just to make me look as small as possible or dwindle as possible, basically to remove the respect he feels I have in the community. My thing is dogs, so that's not gonna happen because I'm gonna admit if I don't know something, I'm gonna tell the truth, and if you're lying, I'm gonna call you out on it. And it was one of those where I typically kind of hold back with people. That was one where I knew I was gonna hold back in the beginning, but then towards the end, we were gonna go there. But my whole issue started with him. He had a grand champion. He offered us a son off of it. I wasn't sure that I wanted it. And he said it would fit our program because the dog had drive. Well, when he started describing the dog didn't have drive. It was just hyper and dumb. Well, we don't want that. So I turned him down in a nice way. We didn't have room at the time, which was the truth. We didn't have room at the time. And he offered us the dog for free. So it was funny during the live when he said, you just didn't take it because you couldn't afford it. It's like, you offered it for free. What are you talking about? But we didn't have room at the time because we didn't have room for a dog that we wouldn't be utilizing, regardless of the accomplishments of its father. We just weren't impressed by all that. And so our, coolness started going downhill from there. Then he started going in the group, trolling people, starting arguments. He's one of those, if you ask a question, does your dog get along with cats? He figures out a way that he can hammer in the breed standard, the written standard. If it's not, he'll say something like, if it doesn't fit the standard, then it doesn't matter if it gets along with cats. So he started getting into arguments with people, which was cool. We allow that in the group, but then he started disrespecting females in the group. I was working at the time, so I didn't have the time to monitor it, so I muted him. I think I did a 12-hour mute. My intention was to hit him up and be like, hey, you got to cool out on that. But he got so mad he was muted that by the time I was finished working and got back on Facebook, he was already live going off on me, going off on the group. And so after that, it was like, take this off mute and let's just go ahead, block him. And that was that. And then he unfriended me. And I don't know, Facebook is a sensitive community, but it is what it is. Mr. J said, I've been ran up on by a lot of loose dogs. No street dogs, but loose dogs. Exactly. I've had issues with loose dogs, but not so much stray dogs. Joshua said, how to cure magma. I'm not even sure what that is. Magma. Let me look that up. thick, white, cheesy substance that collects under the foreskin of the penis. I have no idea. What I will say as far as things like that, start adding apple cider vinegar to your dog's water. It helps a lot with the urinary tract for both males and females. And hold on. Oh, yeah, there we go. Start adding that. As far as if you have it, how to get rid of it. If you don't see it affecting your dog in a negative manner, you're probably okay. I'm mad it said cheesy. I'm like grossed out right now. I would try to get a hold of an antibiotic. You can take the dog to a vet. They're going to charge you an arm and a leg, or you can get fish flex or fish mox, which is an antibiotic a lot of us working dog people always used on dogs, especially if they got injured. And you can use that. That should help clear it up, because typically when you get something like that, there's a slight infection. But between that and the apple cider vinegar, that should not only clear it, but also be preventative of it. Next thing I will say is take the dog to the vet, have it looked at, and see what the vet tells you. But anytime you see things like that, you always want to clean it. Don't just leave it there. Clean it off. If money's an issue going to the vet, you can hit me up on Facebook, and I'll tell you the dosages based off of your dog's weight. But you can order fish mox online, and then start including apple cider vinegar in your dog's diet, along with increasing the immune system, kind of like we talked about earlier. And things like that usually aren't that bad. It should clear it up. If money's not an issue, take the dog to the vet, have them look at it. They'll give you whatever it takes to clear it out, and then start adding apple cider vinegar to the dog's water, and that should keep it clear. Change the diet again to help boost the immune system. Kings of Bully Excellence. That's a dope name. What's the best way to train a stubborn bully puppy? I've owned pit bulls previously, and none were nearly as stubborn as my current bully. Any advice? I do, just so you guys know, I do consultations for both behavior, conditioning. I don't do obedience. I'm just not into obedience. But as far as behavior, conditioning, any breeding that you're looking for, I'm always going to ask you ahead of time, what is it you're overall looking to achieve? Are you going for the show ring? You're going for working? But I do consultations. Hit me up, and I can go into that. But part of the consultations is I don't charge if you ask the question during a live. So when you say what is the best way to train a stubborn bully, but of course, being it live, it's not going to be as detailed. You want to, when you got a dog that's stubborn, for whatever, I don't know what the situation is for whatever reasons, it's not listening to you. Distraction is the best thing. Distraction and discipline. But you want to catch the dog doing what it's doing. You get what I'm saying? So what's an example? Let's say your dog's not allowed on the couch. You come walking in the living room, and all of a sudden the dog's on the couch. You can tell it to get off the couch. You can spank it, tell it no, put it in its crate. You can do all those things that you want to do. But all you did was teach it to not be laying on the couch. You didn't teach it to not jump on the couch. You get what I'm saying? So you have to look at what the dog's doing and being able to break it down. And by catching it in the moment, that's the best way. So whatever issue you're dealing with, you want to catch it in the moment. Start training the dog in other things, and it will learn to listen to you in the things that it's not listening to you. So sit, giving it a treat. I'm not big into treats. I'm more into praise. But let's say you teach the dog to sit. You teach the dog to stay. You teach the dog to release a toy. When you start giving it the training in other areas, it also carries into your behavioral issues of things that you don't want to take place. And always look at it that way. Obedience is something you want a dog to do. Sit, stay, roll over, flip, whatever. Behaviors tends to be things that you don't want a dog to do. So I do some obedience training through the consultations, but I'd rather do behavior. It's just a lot simpler to me, especially when a lot of it is done over the phone. But think about that, King of Bullies, is focus on start training the dog in other areas, rewarding the dog. So when the dog's doing something you don't want, discipline it and stop it from happening. You're going to have to use your body to do that. Tell the dog no, put the dog in its kennel or its crate or whatever, and then leave that dog in there for a little bit, and then go ahead, bring the dog back out. But the dog needs to come out calm. Start working on those things. When you go to take the dog for a walk, don't put the collar on until the dog calms down. Don't put the leash on the collar till the dog calms down. Don't exit the house or the yard until the dog calms down. Teach it to sit. Teach it to stay. Teach it to come. Reward it for doing the good behavior, and that will start helping you with the behavioral issues that you might be having. Dom said, you and Terrell seem like the only bully guys on YouTube to stress about athletic bullies and health. You know what? I like Terrell. I do check out Terrell's lives when I could catch him. For some reason, I don't get notifications because I think I came across his page the other day, and he had some lives I hadn't seen in like months. So, but I got respect for Terrell. I think he's a good dude. I know there's people in the bully community that, have whatever their opinions are. I don't get caught up in that. As far as dogs go, I respect what Terrell has to say. And I like what he has to say and what it is that he's pushing with this breed, especially since he's someone that's been there from, if not from the beginning, almost the beginning. And that, going back to not just Terrell, but people like Terrell. When you get people who have dog knowledge in this community, there's always going to be those people and are willing to speak the truth about dogs. There's always going to be those people that are going to try to bash them, tear them down. But remember, that has nothing to do with the information they're providing you about dogs. So be able to separate it. Learn as much as possible from as many people as you possibly can. If you said, hey, I checked out so-and-so's live, and somebody said, oh, I can't stand that guy, he this, he that. Okay, excuse me. Cool. Like I've told you guys before, somebody tells you they got an issue with me, tell them to join my live. That's it. And that's how you nip that in the bud. Whatever issue they think I'm wrong on, whatever issue they have with me as a person, as a dog breeder, as somebody who talks about dogs, tell them to join my live so we can talk about it. If they say, some people will say, oh, you're just trying to get clout by having me. Okay, I'll join your live. However you want to do it, let's have a person-to-person conversation through the lives. And then that way we can nip that in the bud, and your audience can see who's right, and my audience can see who's right. So the same thing with a person like Terrell. You get a lot of opinions on, but is he right when he's talking about dogs? Is he right when he's talking about this breed? I may not agree with everything I've heard from Terrell, but overall, I like what he has to say, and I respect what he's pushing when it comes to this breed. People bring up business exchanges and things that have happened. I can't say I can't say I did the best of business when it came to dogs when I was young. You know what I mean? Because I was very focused on the dog, and if you weren't focused on the dog, you may disagree with what my choice was. Nowadays, I have enough experience where I know how to have conversations with people so that whatever decisions I make, they're in tune with it and they're in agreement with it. But when I was young, I just assumed everybody knew what I do or would be into what I was into. And if they weren't, I was just like, there were situations people would have considered bad business. So that's another thing when it comes to business in this community. A lot of it is due to people's misunderstandings. It doesn't go their way, and then they start bashing whoever that is. So be careful when you listen to those things with guys like Terrell, who people are very opinionated about. Tell those people, go on a live with him. I'm sure Terrell's willing to have him. And also, is he right about what he's saying? That's all that matters, because you're going to him for information on dogs. So shout out to Terrell. And that's Terrell Quincy of TBKC. iPutin100 said, I heard a breeder tell me if the pup has a thick tail, he's going to be a big boy. Yes, a lot of that is true, all the way down to when you look at their butthole, the one that has that thick base on that tail and that whole area, the tail, the butthole, all that. Those are tend to be your bigger pups. If you take those three things along with the size of the paws, you're gonna know that you're gonna have a big, a large dog, or definitely one of the larger ones in the litter. Eric Maxwell, I never sell a pup before 10 weeks. I'm never in a rush to push the pups out. You know what? We did that previously with litters. I would, because if it's a working dog, I prefer to get it at 6 weeks old. That's just my thing. And if I knew you were experienced working, I was the same way. I would sell it to you at 6 weeks old. Let you pick it at 4 or 5, and then I sell it to you at 6 weeks old. Non-working breeds, protection breeds, I would hold on to them till about 8 weeks, or let people pick them around 6 weeks, 6, 7 weeks, and then they will be gone at 8 weeks. With bullies, because we're just getting into this also, we now let people pick them at 8 weeks, and they take them at 10 weeks. That extra 2 weeks is there. Now, if it's somebody that we know is within our group of friends and family, then they could take it at 8 weeks, the dogs that they pick. Because we can watch that pup grow without worrying about it. If it's somebody that we don't know, which really hasn't happened yet with bullies, but actually it has, because some people will word of mouth. But if we don't know, and we'll let you pick it at 8 weeks within a 10 week, but we want to hold it till 10 weeks so that we can watch it, implement the temperament that we want and the imprinting that we want done with that dog. So that way, when you get it, you get what you're looking for, or you're closer at least to it, what you're looking for, than you would have been at 8 weeks. And we can also, let you know that, hey, within the last 2 weeks, we like the way this pup's developing. We want to keep an eye on them. We might use them for breeding. And that's why we hold the pups for 10 weeks. So for the people that we don't know or that we meet through, we haven't sold anything to anybody off, social media. But for, let's say that was the case, it gives us the ability to say, okay, they're coming to us. That means they want a specific temperament. We know we bred it, but now we're going to make sure we imprint it a little bit more over these next 2 weeks into this specific pup that they took. If they're looking for protection, if they're whatever it is they're looking for, they've got a baby. We're going to use that 2 weeks to get that dog used to the sense of babies, baby materials, blankets, all those types of things, so that when that pup gets there, he knows that this is something to get used to. And if I've got I'll go buy a baby doll and teach that pup, stay away from it. Keep your distance. So that way it gives us 2 weeks to work on those little things before that person gets it. It also gives us the ability to watch the structure of the dog, how it grows in that next 2 weeks, and say, hey, the pup you picked happens to be better than the keeper that we picked all of a sudden. So we want to keep a relationship with you because we might want to use them for breeding and work something out. Whether we give them half their money back, let them have it, we hold on to the papers and work out a co-own. We'll figure something out in that next 2 weeks. But that's a great idea. I think it's something great to do. Dom said IQ 100. Same here. I was told that once. That was regarding his convo. Mr. J getting that King of Bullies. Naheem Scott said, also, does having a C-section wreck your female health-wise after 3 times? No. Will she live healthy after her career? Yes. The C-section, it is a surgery, but you're only doing 3 of them. And that's one of the reasons, and you can breed a dog more than that. But I would only advise that if you're doing C-sections, I would say 2 to 3 breedings should get you what it is you need to get, and it's time to move on and let that female chill so she doesn't have to do the surgeries anymore and go through it. But as far as taking away anything from her by doing the C-sections, no. It's just a cut through the stomach, they're pulling the puppies out, stitching her back up, and then bam. So to me, it's the overall experience I would try to avoid after the 3rd time. Breed the dogs back to back. Don't skip heats. And then once you're done, 2nd or 3rd breeding, if you're doing C-sections, you shouldn't be breeding a dog more than 2 to 3 times. That's just doing too much. And your kennel should have been able to move on, and you should have gotten what you needed from that female by then. Somebody said you stole my idea. What idea? James Galloway said if they would have, and also you guys again on Facebook, join over to YouTube, and that way I can see who you are, and I can guaranteed see your comments. Because sometimes it shows me some comments and other comments it doesn't. James Galloway said if they would have closed the stud books, we wouldn't have the Merles and a lot of these poorly bred bullies. I think you still get the Merles because they would paper hang on them. And then the registries would make the excuse that, well, some pit bulls and bulldog breeds have Merle in them. So I think we still get the Merle. But the problem, and I think you still get poorly bred dogs because a lot of these dogs that aren't single registered are poorly bred. I've actually seen some dogs that are single registered or unregistered, period, with no papers that look better than a lot of the dogs that are registered. So I think we still have some of the issues, but yeah, we'll probably cut back on some of it. It would change the mindset. If there's one thing that it would do, I would say it would change the mindset. You'll get some people that aren't so much into the free-for-allness of it, because people do say, oh, well, you can single register dog. The stud books are still open. I can do what I want. Or everybody else is doing what they want. So I do believe it would kind of change the mindset a little bit. Mr. J said, my boy just eat sauerkraut straight. Damn. He weird. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think ours will eat sauerkraut straight. They might now, but I don't think they will. Let's see, okay, yeah, man, dumb. Top of the class bully said, is it okay to give your dog probiotics every day? If you're talking about probiotics like a pill or a medication, a supplement, I would say just follow the directions. Whatever's on the bottle, follow that. Now, if you're talking about yogurt, sauerkraut, yes, it is definitely okay to give it to them on a daily basis, mixed in with their food. Let's see. Jason said you hear slightly high rear, but what is slightly high? 1 or 6 inches. I would say slightly high, 1 to 2 inches. Two's kind of there though. I say an inch would be slightly high. Because at an inch, that means sometimes the dog stands and you don't see it. Sometimes the dog stands and you do. When you start getting 2 inches and more, that means that butt is 2 inches higher than the shoulders. It may not be as noticeable if the dog's long, but if it's compact, now you're noticing even more. I say when you start reaching over an inch, that's when you start looking at like it's too high. It's definitely high. Anything that's high is too high, but over an inch, you start getting 2-3 inches, that can be a problem. Now, 2 to 3 inch, that's even a 6-inch high rear should be just as easy to breed out as a 1-inch high rear. The reason being because you're breeding out what's causing it. You're not breeding out the height, the inches. You see what I'm saying? Typically, it's caused by sways in the back, weak pasterns, stiff stifles is what it is 9 times out of 10. But so whether it's 1 inch or 6 inches, the process of breeding it out is the same. And if it's you're usually not gonna have a dog that has a 6-inch high rear. You breed it to a dog that has a level rear, and now all of a sudden it comes down to 3 inches. You're gonna get pups that have high rears. You're gonna get pups that don't. You want to stick with the pups that don't have it and continue breeding the dogs that don't have high rears. So the answer is the same regardless of how many inches. But I would say anything over 2 inches, you're starting to get extreme. Jason Barr said Joshua Lewis, Kabbalan, check out how to clean horses. She's on YouTube. That's fairly common thing with horses. Okay. I think you're talking about the cheesy thing we were reading about earlier. Day one Bulls Kennel. What are hot bloodlines to stay away when you breed? And I'm assuming when you say hot, I think you're talking about aggressive. Um, we all know the main one that's talked about. Remy was supposedly a hot dog. And again, we're talking dogs rather than so-called bloodlines. I know they used to say ICK had some, what's that, Iron Cross Kennels had some hot dogs. I don't know that they were bloodline or just dogs in general. And we also know Kimbo. We know he's had some major issues. Juggernaut comes off of Kimbo. Now, as far as staying away from them, I would more. I don't know that there's necessarily a bloodline. For instance, Kimbo. Some people will not breed to any dog that's got any Kimbo in his blood. Cardi Bull has Kimbo 6 generations back. She's she got Juggernaut. I want to say 5, so I think Kimbo's 6. I want to say he's 6 or 7 generations back, but she's fine. You know what I mean? Now she don't she you can't break in our house or come in our yard uninvited or anything. But as far as people and kids and things like that, she's perfectly fine. So if you hear of a dog that's hot, you just want to make sure that that dog is in the past, 4, 5, 6 generations, and then that the breedings 9 times out of 10 in the bully community, people aren't breeding for that, so you should be okay. um as far as when you start dealing with line breeding and inbreeding of a dog though that has those issues, you want to be careful. But I don't know of any hot bloodlines. There are a few people that make claims because they say, oh, so and so was using Cane Corso in their blood. But if that, if those breedings to create the American Bully from whatever kennel it was are beyond 5 generations, and now it's gone through, you're getting dogs from other people, and that has gone to other people who bred to other dogs, and they're breeding for head and tail and all these other things. Excuse me. Chances are you're losing whatever that trait was that caused that dog to be hot. Uh, Day one Bulls, Kennel said, what's the longest you have had to hold on to a bully puppy before? Have you ever had? I haven't had to hold on to any beyond 10 weeks. Um, we next year I will be probably moving so that we can start holding dogs for up to 4 months so that we can ship them overseas. But I haven't had to hold on to dogs any length of time beyond 8 to 10 weeks. Have you ever had problems trying to sell litters in the beginning when you first started? Um, with us, we were already known for dogs. My cousin was known for various breeds, but especially Cane Corsos. I was known for always having dogs, breeding dogs, training dogs. Um, and the last litter I had was, like I told you, me bringing Floyd to a Razor's Edge female. So it's all been word of mouth. So we already have people who kind of want dogs from us. Um, we haven't, really promoted on Facebook and, Instagram and all that stuff. We post, but we don't really, promote like I've got a litter for sale type thing. We don't have a website, so it's all really been word of mouth. People are out who have our dogs go out. Like we know now our next litter, we've got people that already want dogs. And I would say half of those, not half, but I would say a quarter of those people are people who have seen our last litters from going to dog parks or beaches. And a buddy of mine coaches soccer. He's got the dogs with him at all the soccer events. Um, the dog, he's got the dog he got of us from us at the soccer event. So I would honestly say to you, one of the best things to do is get your dogs out there, get yourself business cards made, and just go old school with it. The Facebook and all that stuff, we see how people promote and we see what they do. But go old school with it. Let people know in your neighborhood, your co-workers, your neighbors, your co-worker, your family, that this is what I do. Have business cards so that when people see your dogs, you can hand them a business card. Um, my kids were showing me something where you can, put your phone to their phone type thing. That's the type of thing I can have my phone in my hand and I'll never think about doing it. A business card, I'll think about it. And then your business cards, you can give a stack of them to the people that you sell your dogs to. They should come with your pups so that people have them. Here's a pup, here's 15, 20 business cards along with the package or whatever it is you sell with your pups. So I would say get yourself going that way. The other thing is you want to be able to get rid of your dogs on the street before getting rid of them on Facebook. That way there are people that you can talk to, you deal with. You don't have to worry about hate and all that other stuff. To me, Facebook is kind of a, Facebook, Instagram, that's kind of a thing when, not when we have too many dogs. I don't plan on having too many, but, I would just rather my dogs go to people that I know or people that know those people that I know that know those people. Even if it's through 6 degrees of separation, at least there's somebody that I can say, hey, how's that pup doing? And I guess you can do the same thing through Facebook and all that, but that's just me personally. Our dogs are in Southern Cal. Well, we're one in Arizona now. I've had dogs in Las Vegas, but my dogs have always been general. No, now I got to take that back. I've also got a pup that's well, he's not a pup no more. He's about 5, 6 years old. But he's in New York. So, people move, things happen, but I personally prefer word of mouth and on the street for the sale of dogs. So the best thing you can do is get your dogs known. As far as people on Facebook, Instagram, things like that, that's when you're taking that gamble on getting your popularity and your clout and all those other things that people online talk about. And just marketing the dogs and, putting good pictures out. And like right now, we take pictures, but we don't really have to because people are seeing our dogs outside of, social media. So I would say definitely get business cards made. Start taking your dog out, PetSmart, Tractor Supply, wherever allows dogs, take your dog there. If you drink coffee, train your dog so that it acts right when you're at a coffee shop. Do those type of things so that you can get your dogs out there, people seeing it. And this breed stands out. So if you're driving and people driving are going to notice King stops cars. Cardi Bull don't necessarily stop cars, but she make them slow down. So if you got people driving, it after a few times of seeing you, they're going to pull over. You know what I'm saying? Walk your dogs, get them out, let them be seen, have business cards with you so you can exchange information. And that's the best way to breed and sell dogs. When it comes to the Facebook and social media, it makes things easier. But then you get caught up in the whole stupidity of social media. So, and eventually we're all going to have to deal with it when it comes to our pups. But I figure stall it for as long as you can. Top of the class said, no, I meant food. Hold on, then. What were you talking about? Is it okay to give your dog Okay, so yeah, in food top, yeah, go ahead. And when it comes to your probiotic foods, yes. Prebiotic foods, yes. And that's the best way. Your yogurt, your sauerkraut, all that stuff is the best way because it's natural. With the yogurt, though, again, make sure it's plain yogurt. Don't get diet. Don't get fat-free. Get regular plain yogurt. Remember, dogs digest fat a lot more and utilize fat a lot more effectively than we do. So get regular plain yogurt. When it comes, no fruits and berries in it, none of that. And when it comes to the sauerkraut, you want to get it organic. And it is as natural as you can get it. That's what you want. Let's see. M said, I got one question. Is a 150-pound XL and a 50-pound pocket the same dog? No. And I think the bully community is going to have to come to grips with that this is not the same breed. The XL, the classic are similar. I mean, the XL and the standard are similar. The classic and the standard are probably the same. The standard and the pocket are similar, but not the same. And the XL and the pocket are not at all close to being the same. There are different breeds used to make it. Each of these classes should be treated as a different breed, but no different than the Schnauzer or the. Is Sadie locked up? Okay, because she was outside. What's up, Bucket? I'll feed you in just a second. Um, so when it comes to I think they need to treat it like different breeds, just like the Schnauzer does. You're not allowed to cross the giant and the standard and the miniature. They all have to breed separately, and they're all considered three different breeds. The poodle used to lie and claim that they were all the same breed from the standard all the way to the teacup, and pretend that they just bred it for size, and that's how it got to where it is. They're now finally starting to admit the same thing, that it is different breeds, and they're different breeds because different breeds were used to create them, and they also have slightly different temperaments. Mark McKenna, yo, this live is so long. Laying here in the hospital, goofed out, had the this morphine dream, came back around, and you're still talking. Thanks for helping me through tonight. How fight go? We ended up, the fight went to the decision. We lost. Got to work on the wrestling. That's what we got to do. Got to work on the wrestling. But he's ready. He's ready. He'll be more focused because we took this fight short notice. So he'll be more focused next time. So will I. M said, I got one question on the XL and the pocket. The same breed? No, they're not. I think that's what I answered earlier. Mr. J said, I've had people stop their cars to look at Butters. He gets more attention than I realize. There you go. And see, now if you got business cards to go along with it, bam, you're in the game. Now they got something to remember you off of. And they're showing the business card to other people. You know what I'm saying? So that's what people have to remember. Day One Bull said, is free feeding bad for a puppy? It depends on the pup. If you notice he just loves eating and he's gaining too much weight, because you want to keep your pup somewhat lean. You don't want the fat pups we see on Facebook. That's bad for them. You want to keep your pup somewhat lean so that they grow correctly. If you see that he's just like overeating, gaining too much weight, then that's not a pup you can free feed. I prefer not to free feed dogs. I've had one dog, my Bullard Kayla. She was the type of dog you could free feed. She would also fast herself. I want to say about every 2 weeks, she just wouldn't eat for whatever reasons, and for a day. And then all of a sudden she'd go back to eating. So it depends a lot on the dog. I prefer not free feeding, especially with a pup, because they tend to just eat whatever they have access to. And you want to keep them lean, not slim or skinny, but lean until they're about a year old. Jason said, how to tell a standard and a classic. Very confusing. The standard tends to be more extreme. They're the same height. And you got to remember, the bully community is the only community that has two classes that are the same height. But the classic tends to be less bone, less mass. I would say the head is probably around similar. But the classic tends to be less bone, less mass. The standard, especially now, seems to be more extreme, a little more exaggerated. Major Lee says, salute, nothing but respect. Same to you. And that's the end of the comments. None of y'all joined on, but we're going to be out. Hold on. James said, can you correct weak pasterns? If so, how? What is the method you use? Yes. Raise the food bowl. Don't raise the water bowl. A lot of these food stands come with the food and water raised. Just raise the food bowl. Keep the water low. Always remember, eat high, drink low. That's how nature is. Most times the animal in nature is drinking. The water is actually below their feet and they're squatted down drinking. So eat high, drink low. Raise the food bowl so that the dog is standing up on his tips but can still reach into his bowl and get everything that's in there. But you want the dog standing up straight. Next thing, if you have access to pea gravel, sand, mud, high grass, anything like that, getting that dog to run and play and walk on that will strengthen the pasterns. You walk on level ground, you walk at whatever pace you normally walk at. When you hit a hill, walk up slightly faster. Going downhill, walk down slightly slower. That will also build the pasterns. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and get off of here so I can get to my family. And I'll see y'all later, next Tuesday, same time, same place.